right sauce. Hail Mary, they despise what the light brought. Let them roach niggas bleed if they can't see. Side at a TV, what you can't be. They say that murder on my mind, now they can't breathe. Take a picture of the crew, that's your last peep. Oh, I need me your love, yeah, that's just me. Keep them jumping like some frogs, so they might be leave when the sun set. And they don't really wanna bleed from the gunplay. And like mine, niggas smoking weed on the one-way street, nigga. Yeah, we see we outside with it. Pull up to debates like we might be with it on guard. Side these niggas like bullshit and they fraud. Let me chop them down with the sword. Walk them down like they live hard. This the toughest you gon' be in, we too hard. And you don't really want that smoke, my G. Who would be siding at a TV? This the toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. The toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Keep that off your lip before you get flipped. We got sources over here, we don't just spit. Too many bosses over here, y'all just legit. Put them niggas in the game, let them get real. Don't even step unless you come in with that scholarship. That economic tip, gotta make a dollar flip. And I might be next, I don't give a damn, a truth rolling with me, so I'm feeling like the son of man. Too many gon' hate, gotta make a stand. I'm just trying to duck the lake, you don't understand. Read them when I greet them, that's my best plan. Head first shit, I'm just saying. Nigga meet me in LA, oh you just playing. Too many be fake what the base saying. So I tell them they don't want no smoke before they end up in the newspaper next day. Smoke is the toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. The toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. Toughest environment, the toughest environment, the toughest environment to be in. And this is it right here. The toughest you gon' ever be in. You wasn't conscious before us. Y'all niggas was asleep. We woke the sleeping giant. We did it. Side dinner TV. So stay your ass in your little box.
Peace, peace, peace. Assalamu alaikum. Hotep, namaste. Jambo, Ashe, Shalom. All the greetings of love and light to the darkest minds of the light, to the HOK Colosseum audience, to the House of Consciousness audience. Everybody's coming over. We had a great show on the bigger channel in the House of Consciousness. The brother, God Concept, did a great presentation on the Canaanites, and we just are going to keep it going. We're going to have a continuation over here. We do have joining us, we have the pleasure of having our brother, Steve Caballeros. Professor Caballeros is over here, and he's going to talk to us today about who are the Hyksos. So we're just going to move it right over from the House of Consciousness to the HOK Colosseum. Hit the like button, start it up, and yeah. How you doing there, Steve?
Hi, Nepal. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me good?
Yes.
All right. How are you?
Great. How are you doing? And do you have everything ready to go?
Yeah, my slides are loaded. You can share it. You ready?
Yes. I'm ready when you are.
I'm ready.
Okay. Your slides are up. Let's so can you tell us before you get started, just give us a little intro. What are you're doing a call out, but I'm not sure who will join. I did drop the link for the sister, and
Mhm,
also whoever wants to give you that pushback or that smoke. What are you
mhm.
going to be covering today?
Well, I mean, first I should say that I I wasn't aware that it's a call out. What happened was that it was in another group, and yeah, I am a debater, and in kind of like trying to set up a debate, someone told me that the sister, that she wants to debate, and then I just threw out a topic, and mm, she may have seen an interested or curious. So, but it didn't seem to be going anywhere. And then my manager reached out to me and gave me some insight. And then she reached out to you. And that's how we ended up, or I ended up. Well, I'm not, this is about my second or third time on your channel. And that's how I'm here. I guess I'm calling out people. I guess I'm not calling out people. It's
Didn't know this was a call out.
no, but it's cool.
So
It's
when
all
you
right.
contacted me, you didn't say you were interested in getting a debate.
Yeah, kind of. It's no big deal. I get a debate.
No,
That's
no, this
good.
is the thing. This is the
Yeah.
thing. This is HOK Coliseum. And
Hmm.
from what I know, you wanted to call out Naphtali about the Hyksos.
I guess it could work. That's fine. That's cool.
I mean, what do you mean you guess? Did you want to call it out or not? Are you
uh,
scared already?
Scared? Yeah. No, I'm not scared. I'm not
I
scared at all.
mean, okay, let's do this. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be just anybody, but from what I know, you're a part of the Info Warriors and you're a debater. And whoever's interested in approaching you about this presentation, is that fair?
That's
Like,
fair.
what I'm trying to make clear is that
Mhm.
you're okay with getting a debate. And I also need to make it clear, I was contacted that you wanted to get a debate. So it's
Mhm.
fine. If I could understand, you might be a little bit, it's all right. I'm here for you. You won't, you're going to be okay. But
Okay.
anyway, Steve, I never seen you scared like this. But I think
Scared?
this is I'm just kidding. But I
Okay.
do think this is going to be a good presentation because we
Okay.
did have somebody recently, like just a few hours ago, a brother was doing a great presentation, Canaan, and he mentioned the Hyksos. So I do want to
Mhm.
hand you over the mic and the time to just share with us who you say the Hyksos are.
Okay.
And by the way, the reason I
Mhm.
needed to clarify is because I don't want her thinking that I had anything to do with you calling her out.
Mhm.
Uh, I was contacted by, like you said, your manager saying the brother wants to get a debate with Naphtali.
Mhm.
And then Naphtali, when I spoke to her, she showed me some stuff. So it's not like you're not interested in debate, but I just want to make it clear
Mhm.
that somebody contacted me about you debating Naphtali.
Right, and it started in another group, so
Got you.
it's okay. It's cool.
Okay, cool. We got that out of the way.
Yeah.
Um, she might agree with some of your information. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
So go ahead whenever you're ready. I just want to let everybody know, hit the like button. I do see people entering. Oh, do you have a problem if people join and talk to you about your work?
This slide presentation.
Why am I
Um,
scared? Wait, 1 second. Why am I scared? Asiatic. This is weird. I'm scared of Naphtali. Why? This is so dumb. Like, Asiatic, you're gonna get your ass timed out. You won't even be able to be in the chat. I'm not scared of Naphtali. This is the thing. I like to clarify. When I get contacted and somebody says, "Hey, I want to debate somebody," and then I say, "Oh, this person's here to debate," I want to make it clear that the person's not being forced to do something. It's just integrity. It's not afraid. So anyway, Asiatic, say one more thing and you will not even be in the chat. I promise you, because Naphtali is a great debater. Naphtali is very informed, but don't ever forget, and I could say this, she's my daughter. She came from my loins. All right? Thank you. Now, with that said, they already want to start. They're a little, it's like the Thunderdome today. All right, you ready to get started or no?
Yeah, I'm ready. But I just want to. I didn't know that. Well, I kind of like thought that the Hyksos was mentioned in the Bible, but I didn't. So this presentation has very little to do with the Bible. It's more like it has to do with history. I'll start. Okay.
No. Yeah, the Hyksos are not mentioned in the Bible.
Well, I found
They
something in
not by name, not by name. I mean,
the Shepherd
there's
Kings,
nothing
right?
saying
Is the Shepherd Kings
yeah.
mentioned?
There's nothing said in the Bible exactly shepherd kings either.
Mm. Oh, okay. Okay. I just found something online that implied that, but anyway. Okay. So
Yeah. All right.
who were the Hyksos? In 332 BCE, during Persian rule, Alexander conquered ancient Egypt. Consequently, the label Hyksos was first used in the 300s BCE by the Ptolemaic Hellenized historian and priest Manetho. So this word Hyksos, or this term Hyksos, was first used by, well, the Greeks occupied ancient Egypt, and they had a dynasty called the Ptolemaic dynasty. And this word Hyksos was used by this Ptolemaic priest slash historian. His name was Manetho. Moving forward in time by about 300 to 400 years, from the 300s BCE to the first century CE, Roman Jewish historian Flavius Josephus translated the term Hyksos to mean shepherd kings or captive shepherds. So going from Greek occupation to Roman occupation, here now we see the Roman Jewish historian, and he's now taking that word Hyksos and interpreting it to mean shepherd kings or captive shepherds. Josephus Flavius was one of the people who wanted to identify the Hyksos as the biblical Hebrews. Okay. And then you can also chime in at any time at any time that you want.
Do you mind if I let people up on the panel?
That's fine, but can they wait until can I do the whole
Sure,
presentation?
no.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I do
Okay.
want to say this to everyone. The link is pinned. So if you want to come and wait in the back when he's through his presentation, you definitely he has no problem with you coming in and asking questions. Okay, thank you, Steve. Go
But
ahead. Sorry about that.
you can interrupt me anytime you want. You can ask me questions.
I got you. Oh, okay. I hear you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So the establishment of Hellenized Judaism. Here we are talking about the first century CE, and more so due to the conquering influence of Alexander the Macedonian and his generals of the Greek Empire. Hellenized Judaism and the makings of Hebrew biblical history was becoming established and or canonized. To bring legitimacy to the state-sponsored Greek Hellenized Judaic religion, it was Flavius Josephus who interpreted and identified the Hyksos as shepherd kings or captive shepherds. However, consensus among modern-day historians is that the name Hyksos was a Greek version of a Kemetic, ancient Egyptian title Heka Kasut, meaning rulers of foreign lands. So it really meant rulers of foreign lands, not shepherd kings or captive shepherds. That's what Flavius Josephus made it out to mean. The Hyksos people from foreign lands. According to modern day historians, the Hyksos ethnic group appeared to flourish in ancient Egypt during the Second Intermediate Period, 1650 to 1570 BCE. The Hyksos people are thought to originate from West Asia or the Near East. The term Hyksos, however, referred to ancient Egyptian rulers rather than an entire ethnic group with foreign origins, such as from Western Asia or the Near East. The Hyksos are mentioned in other ancient sources, but the Turin royal canon documents them as ancient Egyptian rulers of the 15th dynasty from foreign lands. So yeah, here they're being called ancient Egyptian rulers because they had an actual dynasty. They ruled Avaris for about 150 years. They established a dynasty. The Hyksos were not foreign invaders, however. Modern day historians dispel the accounts of Manetho, the Ptolemaic priest, and Flavius Josephus, the Roman Jewish historian, describing the Hyksos as a foreign invading force who killed and enslaved the ancient Egyptians. So here, the enslavement piece comes up. Today, due to their establishment of the ancient Egyptian 15th dynasty, the Hyksos are referred to as a small group of rulers rather than an entire ethnic or racial population. In 1966, the Austrian Academy of Sciences began excavation at Tel al-Dabaa, where identifiable remains from the Hyksos dynasty capital city of Avaris were found. The archaeological evidence from Avaris paints a different picture from Hyksos conquering invaders in favor of centuries of people from the Levant, possibly Palestine, Israel, and Syria, migrating and settling into the Nile Delta. So here, this is not the Hyksos. This is around the same time that the Hyksos were coming into ancient Egypt or Kemet. Here you see her name is Queen Sobek Neferu. Hyksos migration into Kemet, ancient Egypt. The scientific and historical evidence suggests that the high point of these migrations was from the mid-12th dynasty to the second intermediate period. The time frame for the mid-12th dynasty to the second intermediate period is approximately from the reign of Queen Sobek Neferu, who reigned from around 1806 to 1802 BCE to the end of the 12th dynasty around 1782 BCE. This period is characterized by a decline in monastic power and a weakening of centralized authority, leading to the establishment of the 13th dynasty and the subsequent fragmentation of Egypt into smaller competing dynasties. So it's kind of during that fragmentation period is when the Hyksos rulers began to dominate in Avaris, the port city of Avaris. Levantine migrants into Avaris. So centuries before the Hyksos takeover, the Levantine migrants brought aspects of their culture with them, which they blended, syncretized with ancient Egyptian practices. Strontium isotope chemical analysis of 75 skeletal remains from people who inhabited the port city of Avaris supports the Levantine migration hypothesis. Varying strontium isotope concentrations are found in soil, which is then absorbed by crops. The Levantine areas from which the Hyksos rulers and their people migrate have specific strontium isotope soil concentrations. This harmless metal enters the body through food. The skeletons had tooth enamel remains with strontium isotope levels in the range from the Levantine areas. Strategic alliances through marriage. Approximately 37 skeletons contained tooth enamel strontium isotope levels specific to the Levantine areas, indicating that they were buried 350 years before the first Hyksos kings were instated. Yeah, they can tell this by the concentration of strontium isotope in the tooth enamel from these skeletal remains. This also suggests significant immigration before Hyksos rule. The other 37 skeletons contained tooth enamel strontium isotope levels from the Nile Delta, indicating that they were born in that area. The chemical analysis also showed that most foreign-born people from Avaris were women. Researchers postulate that local-born rulers cemented alliances with Western Asia through strategic marriages. Oh my goodness. The slide is totally messed up, but 1 second. What slide is that?
Okay, great. And we do have people coming over to join from the House of Consciousness. They're going to be watching the rest of your just moving right over from there to here. So we're going to have a lot of people coming over. Hit the like button, everybody. Are you having some tech difficulties or what's going on?
No, I uploaded it, but it just, I don't know if it's also displaying that way, but I have it loaded in the background so I can read from the actual slide.
Oh, what do you want me to, okay, you want me to take this down?
No, it's fine. It could stay up. When I move to the next slide, it might fix itself. I don't know, but let me just keep reading. Okay.
Okay, great. I do see it. If there's something else you want to share.
No, it's fine. Okay. King
and everyone who, just 1 second, everyone backstage. So he doesn't, I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, he doesn't want anybody to be up here right away. He wants to get through like, how many slides do you have?
Hold on, let me just double check.
He wants to get through his presentation and then we will definitely let everybody in.
I'm on the 8th slide, 8 of 15.
Oh, great. Okay, great. So please continue.
Okay. So King Amenhotep III, an indigenous Kemetic king who strengthened political alliances and maintained peace. So here I'm just supporting the idea or the realization that indigenous rulers of ancient Egypt, that they married women from Western Asia in order to strengthen political alliances, trade, and to maintain peace. So ancient Egyptian rulers married foreign-born women for several reasons, primarily to strengthen political alliances and maintain peace. Diplomatic marriages were common practices during this period, with Egypt's rulers seeking to forge alliances with neighboring kingdoms to secure peace and trade. Amenhotep III, 1386 BC to 1349 BC, for example, married several foreign women to enhance his power and influence. These marriages were not only political, but also reflected personal relationships and cultural exchanges, contributing to the stability and effectiveness of Kemet's diplomatic alliances. Yeah, let me go back to... Okay, so Avaris was a melting pot of different people and cultures. Varying strontium isotope levels in the foreigners' teeth showed that they came from different areas of the Levant. This is evidence that Avaris was a multi-ethnic and cultural Kemetic seaport city. Further evidence of a melting pot, multicultural Avaris was the distinct artwork and clothing artifacts different from the native Kemetic people. Avaris artifacts of burial practices and records of names etched in stone were similar to that of people from Southwest Asia, not indigenous to Kemet. The Hyksos elites gradually dominated Avaris. The Western Asian citizens of Avaris appeared to introduce new technology to Kemet that became commonplace: the horse and chariot, the compound bow, and improved metal weapons. Being a seaport city, the Avaris elites Hyksos also maintained a dominant role in trade with Western Asia. The Avaris elites also became officials for the Kemetic kings of the Middle Kingdom. The inordinate evidence points to, rather than a violent Hyksos invasion, there was a gradual cultural shift where the elites of Avaris with Levantine ancestry began to dominate. How did people from Western Asia progress from migrants to rulers? Archaeological evidence suggests that rather than a violent invasion. It was a gradual cultural influx lasting centuries to transition from migrant to Hyksos rulers. I know this slide is longer than this. 1 second.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm just doing something else in the background. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, right. Possible occurrences. 1. The Tel El Dabar elites increased their local power as the centralized authority of the indigenous Kemetic kings declined around 1782 BCE at the end of the 12th dynasty. 2. The process may have been gradual and peaceful, or the Hyksos rulers may have staged a coup from inside Kemet to siege power. 3. Famine in the Nile Delta region contributed to the decline of the Kemetic kings, allowing the Hyksos dynasty to emerge. During the 15th dynasty, the Hyksos rulers assumed the title of Heka Kasut and kept their Amorite names as they did so, as they did not shy away from their West Asian Levantine origins. Moving along. Okay, let me see how it displays up here. Come on now.
Please hit the like button, and everybody in the back, I'll be having you up shortly. Anybody who's interested in coming in, and yes, I did send the link out to Naphtali. I did let her know that you want, well, from what I was told, that you wanted to sit down with her. So I'm just letting everybody know. Let me know when you're ready to keep going.
Okay. Are you moving the slides or I'm moving? Because it ain't moving, but it's fine. I got it.
They're not moving? What are you? You're on Hyksos Elite, and now you're on Lavaris.
Yeah, they ain't moving. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
They look like they're moving to me. They look like they're moving. You're on how did people from Western Asia progress?
Yeah, it says slide 11, but I have it loaded in the background. Okay. So Kemetic military campaigns to dispel the Hyksos. Beginning in around 1782 to 1570 BCE, there were clashes. The Hyksos dynasty rulers who presided over most of Lower Egypt, Kemet, and the Nile Valley clashed with the native indigenous Kemetic kings who ruled the south from Thebes. During the 16th century, 1500s BCE, the native Kemetic kings embarked on major campaigns to dispel the Hyksos. Okay, so Apophis and Sekenenre. As legend has it, the Hyksos ruler Apophis during the 16th century BCE started an argument with the native Egyptian Kemetic ruler Sekenenre. The argument was over the noisy hippopotamuses 400 miles away in Thebes, keeping the Hyksos ruler Apophis up at night. There is no evidence to support the noisy hippopotamus anecdotal. However, there is evidence that a battle took place. The native Kemetic king Sekenenre was hastily embalmed, and his corpse showed a head wound from an axe the size used by the Western Asian Hyksos. King Ahmose ruled for 5 years. The Kemetic king Ahmose succeeded Sekenenre. According to the stela at Karnak, Ahmose took a fleet of ships and troops from Nubia to make a surprise attack on Avaris before marching north. Ahmose was undefeated, sieging the Baharian oasis and returning to Thebes triumphant. Ahmose only ruled for approximately 5 years before his brother or son, Ahmose, succeeded him. And wrapping up my presentation, the Hyksos expulsion. Ahmose's heir, Ahmose, took up the war against the Hyksos. Queen Ahotep acted as regent in Thebes since Ahmose was so young. Native Kemetic naval operations took place that targeted the port city of Avaris and its Hyksos rulers. the naval operation was followed by a land siege, almost captured Avaris and forced the Hyksos to retreat to Saruhen in Palestine. Archaeological evidence suggests that while the elite Hyksos rulers were driven out of Avaris, the general population remained ethnically and culturally unchanged. All right. That's the end of the presentation. Yep.
Okay, great. So thank you so much for presenting that. Now, we have some people in back. I'm bringing them on. Some of you, or most of you I know, I'm going to bring you on, and everybody please be respectful of the guest and obviously the host, and we will get this going. So basically, I want to just start off asking you, what was your contention initially? What was not focusing on one person? Like, I'm not just going to keep on bringing, because if she didn't want to come in, I don't want to just keep bringing her up. But what were you looking at that prompted you to like feel like, okay, I want to go and present this about the Hyksos? Did someone present something that is in opposition to this information?
Well, not that someone presented it. That so the like, for example, the strontium isotope evidence or analysis, that archaeological evidence, so that it now sheds new light or clarifies that the skeletal remains, that 37 of them were from the Levant, and so it also shed lights and shows that it wasn't an invasion, but that the Hyksos, they, over a period of about 350 years, that they gradually migrated into Tel El Daba and also Avaris, and they settled there. And over that 350-year period, they gained influence and established trade routes with the southwestern Asia, and well, then also due to the decline of the larger region of Egypt or Kemet, the Hyksos rulers, they gained strength and opportunity, and then the native or the indigenous Kemetic rulers, they then pushed back, and they forced the Hyksos rulers. That's what Hyksos means, the foreign rulers. They pushed them out of ancient Egypt. Meanwhile, the people, the population, stayed behind. That's what the archaeological evidence.
Just a second, please mute your mic if you're not on the you know, it's okay. And just everybody just knows it, just let you know. So okay, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that that's what the current archaeological evidence says. I mean, there are some I've seen like Jewish historians who say that they are the descendants of the Hyksos, and they trace their lineage to the Hyksos. So
okay, great. Thank you so much. We do have the young gentleman, God Energy, who presented today, and he did touch on the Hyksos. So I wanted to just start with him. I see everybody. Peace, Humble, Elder, Suntan, Apostle Zaquan, Rebel Ra, Jose, and of course Ra Kufu. Peace to all of you. Glad you can join. I do, as I said, want to start with the our other guest that was on the platform today, God Energy. Peace, God Energy. Great presentation. How are you, first off?
Feeling good. My nerves are at ease now, you know. Thank you.
Well, you're about to get your nerves riled right back up over here in the Colosseum. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. No, go ahead.
But yeah, with the Hyksos, I was excited to come over and hear him talk about Tel El Daba. I just covered Tel El Daba myself as well. Shout out to the brother and his great presentation here as well. And yeah, you can see at Tel El Daba, the archaeologists and Egyptologists, no doubt, brother. The archaeologist and Egyptologist Donald Redford was talking about how the Tel El Daba excavation is synonymous with the MB2B level of the Canaanite excavations that they were doing, right? And that the Canaanite construction, architecture, material culture that they find at MB2B is the same as what you find at Tel El Daba, you know? And he also points out that Apakana carries the eponym from the land of Canaan with the Kana there. And there were Hyksos women with the theophoric name of Anat, who was popular with the northern Canaanites and things like that. He mentions how I believe in Josephus, it mentions how the Hebrews were Phoenician, right? So just like not the Hebrews were Phoenician, that the Hyksos were Phoenician. Manfred Biatek and his excavations at Tel El Daba also point out that they have a very northern Canaanite type of construction, and that the heartland of the Hyksos was in the Amorite territories. So largely, I'm in agreement with you that these people were northern Semitic peoples, most likely Amorite.
Okay. So you think they're most likely only Amorite, or were they a mixture?
Definitely a mixture. All of these large movements of peoples had some sort of mix going on with other groups, but they were largely Amorite. They were overall Canaanite. So right, regardless of the individual mix, the Hyksos as a large body were Canaanites. Who the specific Canaanites were, we could get into the weeds on that.
Okay. And I want to pass the mic. What do you think about that, Steve? You agree that they were most likely Amorites, or?
Yes, because the Hyksos, the Hyksos who are the leaders, the elites, they kept their culture. So in other words, there was syncretism, there was a blending of in native Egyptian or Kemetic culture with that of the people from Southwestern Asia, but the Hyksos, they maintained their identity during I think it was the 15th dynasty. So they left artifacts saying that they were there and they were rulers and they kept their names, and and there was a syncretism in the religion. And so definitely it talks about them being Amorites as well.
Now, would you say that the Amorites, for both of you, and then I'm going to move around the panel with everybody else, would you say the Amorites, I saw the brother's presentation, so I kind of know what his answer is going to be, but I'm going to start with you, Steve. Were they phenotypically Black? Start with you, Steve.
I can't say that so being phenotypically Black, that's kind of like a loaded question, because if you want to say genetically, if they had more African genes than say Asian genes or something like that, I can understand that. Right. But like being phenotypically Black, you mean like, did they have kinky hair? Did they have an aquiline nose? Did they have thin lips? So I'm kind of like not sure exactly. And then, but these folks, they were also of mixed heritage. They even most of us today are of mixed heritage. Can you hear me?
Okay. I hear you just fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you. Okay, so let me thank you. And so what about you, God Energy? I use the word phenotypically. I saw you had presented some DNA information. You can go into that, but the question is, first off, excuse me. Sanapa is the best there is on this YouTube, but respect to you all. Oh, wow. Thank you, T Tiger, for the $20 super chat, but most importantly for that awesome compliment. So much love to you. Much love to you. Okay, back to you, and then I'll go around the panel. What about them being Black or of African descent or phenotypically Black? You know where I'm going with this, because the brother Steve, I'm kind of teasing you, but I'm still partially serious. From what I knew, he was calling out Naphtali, who says the Amorites are white, and now he said, well, it's just a misunderstanding. It's just a misunderstanding. He's not really calling her out. So, Steve, you gotta come on. You gotta stand a little stronger on your square. But are they black or are they not? The Amorites. Let me ask God energy, and then I'll go back to Steve, see if he wants to double down on it or change his answer, make his answer a little stronger. Are they black? Were they black?
There were black members, but to just label them all as black people, and this is a black population, and this represents black culture, I don't feel comfortable saying that, specifically for the fact that they were in northern Syria. The further north you go in Syria, the closer you get to Anatolia, right? And European Americans are called Caucasians for a reason, right? Europeans in general, you know what I mean? They're called Caucasians for a reason because that Caucasus area was a major migration point for them. They came from the Central Eurasian steppe, set up camp in Anatolia, and then migrated from there. So Anatolia is a hotspot for Indo-European genetics, culture, and linguistics. Given the close proximity that the Amorites and the peoples of Ugarit had to Anatolia, this was a heavily admixed peoples. And the further north you went in Syria, the more Indo-European on the scale you were. It was a heavily mixed population, though. And because of how mixed and how much of a melting pot that area is, I think you do yourself a disservice by giving yourself the headache of trying to label the entire population black, where you can find evidence for black phenotypes and white phenotypes. So it was literally a melting pot.
Okay, now we're talking about the Amorites, but I hear you and I hear Steve. However, I'm gonna ask this, and I haven't forgotten about the rest of the people. When we talk about the Caucasians in that region, they weren't, if we're going to the original, they weren't blue eyes and blonde hair. If you look at those people in that region, they were very, they were dark people. So the reason I'm going down this road is because, again,
I have a response.
Again, I was told that Naphtali, not even if it's Steve, Naphtali teaches that the Amorites are white and that the Canaanites are white. And so if y'all aren't, I'm not talking about you, God energy, and now Steve, I'll let you off the hook. But if anyone's afraid to give her that smoke, that's why Asiatic, you did not know what you're talking about. I'm staying neutral, but I'm very confident that they were dark people. They were not these Caucasian people that are that she's promoting, and especially the Hyksos. Getting back to the panel, they were not just Amorites; they were a mixture of, as we said, Canaanites. So that goes back to God Energy's great presentation where he was on point there. That was and I want you to just talk to us briefly or quickly, concisely about what you presented about the Canaanites having that type of DNA that would point toward them being phenotypically black or African, as opposed to blue eyes, blonde hair, light skin. And I'm talking to God Energy, and then I will get to the rest of the panel. What do you say?
I'm glad you brought that up about Anatolians, because the indigenous Hatti peoples, where the term Hittite comes from, the Hatti peoples were not Indo-European. And actually, the Indo-European blonde-haired, blue-eyes Anatolians came in, conquered the indigenous Hatti of Anatolia, and stole their identity. That's why we call the Indo-European ones the Hittites, when really that's the identity that they conquered from the indigenous Hatti, who did have brown features, just like you said, and may have been related to the Dravidians. Shout out to
Dr. Who?
Shout out to Dr. Clyde Ahmad Winters.
Thank you.
But with that, I do want to bring up the North African ancestry of the peoples of the Levant, right? In the genetic paper Pleistocene North African Genomes Link Near Eastern and North African Human Populations, they go into the North African Ibero-Maurutians, who were the speakers of the Afro-Asiatic language, and then how they then spawned the Natufians, who were the ancestors of the Canaanites. And, the Ibero-Maurutians carry EM78, which is the ancestral E haplogroup subclade to the Natufians, which would be EZ830. And also the Natufians used the Ibero-Maurutian toolkit as well, right? So we know that they also handed down genetics, but also material culture. And these Natufians have been analyzed, their bones, the skeletal structure, the osteological analysis, the craniometrics have been analyzed by anatomists like Sir Arthur Keith, who described the Natufians as long-headed, dolichocephalic, short-faced, broad nose. They had prognathism, subnasal prognathism. He basically described them as Africoid or Negroid peoples, these Natufians. And the Natufians are the ancestors of the Canaanites. So we can 100% go from Canaanite and lead straight back to Africa. And I mean sub-Saharan Africans, right? Because the North Africans at that time were the same phenotypically as sub-Saharan Africans per Joel D. Irish and his work, dental non-metric affinities and tracing the Bantu expansion to its root. So yes, the ancestors of the Canaanites came straight out of Africa.
Awesome. So now we are cooking. We are really cooking now. We're cooking. Thank you for that information. Now I'm going to take it back to Steve, and then I'm going to go to Humble. And then I see you, Apostle. I'm going to go to, I'm trying to go around the panel the way it's set up from where I see it. So we'll go to Humble. Then I see Apostle put his hand up. So I'll go to you. But Steve, are you agreeing with this information that the brother's saying that they about the Canaanites? Is that why you even thought of the sister's research about the Hyksos? And I don't even know what her position is, but I'm guessing that her position possibly would be that the Hyksos are not black. Basically, how she teaches the Canaanites are not black. What is your response? And then I can move on. Yes, sir.
It would have been great if the sister was on the panel. And so I really didn't know that much about her. Like I said, it was in another group, and like looking for a debate. Somebody said, okay, Naftali's also looking for a debate.
Oh, I see.
And I threw out a title about the biblical Exodus versus the Hyksos expulsion, and she seemed interested. But so then, my manager told me, well, then, come over here, and that's where I'm at. And I focus mostly on the Hyksos expulsion. And I really don't know what her philosophy and what her teachings are. Like if the debate would have been set up, it would have just been a title. And then based on that title, I would have prepared my slides and would have been ready to debate, whether from the affirmative or from the negative. But I had no idea. But
okay, well, maybe it's just fate and kismet, because I don't know what Naphtali teaches about the Hyksos, but I know she teaches the Canaanites are white. So, and and it's no big deal. I'm just making sure that everybody knows we're talking about getting you a debate, and I was under the impression that you wanted to specifically debate her information. No worries, she's watching, I'm sure. I sent her the link, I let her know. So she may be busy. She said, great. And so there it is there. I'm going to keep on, don't take it personally, Steve. I'm not being completely dead serious with you about you running and stuff like that. I get it. You're a debater and you're very intelligent.
I'm not taking it personally. It would have just come down to that title, to the debate title, and we didn't come up with a title. So I just presented on the Hyksos. That's
right. And she didn't even know who you were either. When I talked to her, she just said, I just thought you wanted to debate her. But back to the information. So we'll leave it on in this vein. Who are the Hyksos? Are they white? Were they black? Are they Canaanite? Are they Amorites? Are they all of the above? Humble, what would you like to add in about this presentation, or what's your position on the Hyksos, if you have any?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Blessings. Thank you for giving me his time. I would say that the Hyksos were Canaanites, specifically Amorites. Of course, just like the brother Godbody was saying, when we actually go in, we can see that, of course, they had some mixtures. But what I really want to point out, since Sister Napal, you were talking about their looks, right? When you see them depicted, right, on Egyptian and things of that nature, right? They look lighter brown or almost olive tone compared to the Egyptians, right? So if we're asking, was they dark brown or did they look African? No, they had a very distinct, different pheno feature than what we would consider the African over there at that time as well. So they didn't look like the Africans, and we can see this by how the Egyptians depicted them, right? And not only the Egyptians, but other people depicted them as well, right? So they were not dark brown skin, right? But they were not certainly white people. They were olive colored, and I would say that they were from the Levantine area, right? Canaanites, the Amorites more specifically. I land my plane with that.
Thank you very much. And let's move on to Apostle. Apostle, the Hyksos, were they
You already
only,
called me.
were they in, excuse me?
Nobody called you. Said he after. No.
Yeah, he had his hand up, so I was going to go to you after him, Rakufu. Okay, if you are okay with that.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Apostle, so go ahead and let us know your position. What do you think about the brother's presentation, Steve Caballero?
Yeah.
And who are the Hyksos? Who are the Hyksos? And I'll get to you, Rakufu.
Thanks, Nepal. I just wanted to say to Brother Humble, it's God energy. God body is a different God.
Oh, did I say God body? I meant to say God energy. My bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry. Go ahead. Thank
But
you.
I like to say to God energy, according to 23andMe, I am of that EM 78.
Apostle, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to take it off of the.
No, I know.
Well,
I
excuse me.
just wanted to say that to him because he brought up
Yeah.
EM.
Yeah, E1, B1, B1, A1 is what they call EM78. And most African American males, their paternal haplogroup is something of the E haplogroup, right? And you can also find the E haplogroup in the Levant and in Arabia, all over the Middle East and North Africa. You know, well, a large portion of Africa, not just North Africa, also West Africa. But this is the significance of the beginning part of my presentation. And I think with you saying that about your haplogroup, you will find great value in the beginning portion of my presentation because I go over the DE haplogroup, right? And it's divergent and the E haplogroup off of the DE haplogroup, right? But it's a lot of correlation with West Africa, right? So yes, it's later found in the Levant and in Eurasia, in Arabia, but it has a lot of origins in Africa already. And if you go by us being from Africa, if we were taken from West Africa, you would expect a lot of us to have the E haplogroup. But to your point, if we were all Hebrew Israelites, you would expect all of us to have the E haplogroup as well. So.
Okay. Let's get back onto the topic of the presentation that brother's doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, who are the Hyksos? If you could just, because I'm going to go around the panel, Apostle.
The Hyksos are Hebrews, not Israelites. They are of the ancestor Eber, or if you want to say even Abraham, he had 8 sons. So you can be Hebrew and not be an Israelite, meaning from Jacob, Israel. So yes, I do agree that the Hyksos or the Hakakasu are Hebrews. I also believe that they had rulership in Egypt for about 300 years. And we'll find that in the scriptures where it talks about there arose a king that knew not Joseph, who knew not Joseph. And he said, looking at the Israelites and how fat they were, how well they were, how fat their goats and sheep were, he said, come, let us deal wisely with these people. And that is the leading to the Exodus. Yes, they were dark-skinned people. They had to be. White people do not do well in the Nile Valley area. You know that because of the Ashkenazis that are there. They got the second highest rate of skin cancer among European people. The sun is burning them up. So yes, they were dark-skinned people. Most people back then were dark-skinned, opposed to the way things are today and how the modern Egyptian looks opposed to how they used to look.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Apostle. So from when I hear you saying the Israelites were a part of the Hyksos and they were dark skinned.
Not the Israelites. No. Not
So
the Israelites.
were they Israelites at all? Hyksos?
No, they were Hebrews, but not Israelites. They were not from Jacob. They existed before Jacob.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be getting back to you soon. Rapufu, thank you for joining. What did you think about the both presentations? But on the vein of the Hyksos, who are they? What would you like to add?
Say your average Hyksos would be 70 to 80% Canaanite, maybe 15 to 20 Egyptian, and don't forget the more like Armenian side, the Hurrians, the 5 to 10% part of them. They did have that in them as well. The Hurrian nobody's brought up yet, but that's one that they would have had. And I was very interested with what Apostle just said, because that makes a lot of sense. Hebrews came before Israelites. So even in that vein, I want to ask Apostle, Shemites are not all Hebrews because Shemites came before Hebrews, right?
True.
Okay, go ahead, y'all.
True.
Thank you so much, Rakufu. Moving on to Elder Suntan. Elder Suntan, I see you want to present something, but what did you think about both presentations? I thought they were both great. And please speak to us about the topic, the Hyksos. What do the mic is yours.
All right, peace to the panel and peace to Brother God. What is that?
God Energy.
Yeah, God Energy. Peace is good, great information, a lot of information as well. And to my guy next to you, you guys do a lot of deep searching and stuff like that. And I believe the Hyksos was just a mixture of people from that area. You can't put one label on them. I don't think so. They say they're the Hyksos, but there was a lot of admixture in at that time. The part, not diverting from this subject because it got a lot to do with it, because especially since both of these guys are very good researchers, and God's power, he's a super researcher. So this is what this is what I want to present. Could you just put that up there? This is for all my great researchers, because this is where I'm stuck at, and this is where I'm about to go off into. Could you present that for me real quick? It's nothing long or nothing like that, but it's very germane to this conversation.
It's up. I put it up there. You can't see it?
It's not showing.
Interesting.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah. Now, and I want my researchers and my scholars, because I really, support my scholars. But I want to know how y'all feel about this. The perception of a greater number of European scholars is largely rooted in historical factors that foster the development of modern science academic institutions in Europe, coupled by the global dominance of European powers during the age of colonialism. This led to Eurocentric focus and global historic narratives in academia record keeping. So when I say that right there, I was wondering, because I got a lot of more. I'm gonna do a presentation a little later on, Nepal, that our narratives and all our information has been spoon-fed by these Europeans. So I just want to know, how do y'all feel about this commentary right here, to both of the presenters of
Yeah.
the knowledge today?
Thank you. Let's start with Steve, and then we will get to God energy after you,
God
Steve. Go
energy,
ahead.
yeah.
I'm going to take this down now. Or should I leave it up? Do you guys
Yeah,
still
leave
need
it
it
up
up?
so they can read it and
All
understand
right.
it.
Okay, sure. Steve, will you address that, and then we'll move to the next presenter.
Yeah, well, so my first slide, I mentioned Alexander the Macedonian and the Greek Empire. So they Europeans traced their ancestry to the Greeks and the Romans. They colonized that region of the world. They colonized North Africa and the Levantine area. And when they were there, what they did was that they took on the religious culture of the people that lived there, and they introduced state-sponsored religion, and then they took the people away from their indigenous ways, and really they made themselves into the gods. The Greeks and the Romans did that,
right?
And they came up with a syncretic religion, so that they could be worshipped. And a lot of people today, they don't want to research history. It's taken me a while, and also through talking to people, to understand what these empires have done and also what they continue to do. So, and then also Europeans, like Apostle mentioned, the Ashkenazi, they want to put themselves in ancient history where they never belonged. They weren't there, but they want to make themselves to be spiritual and having a place in ancient history where they really didn't belong. They weren't there.
Right. Okay. Great answer. So you understand my premise. God, power is up to you.
Is God energy? God energy. What would you like to add?
Yeah.
That's close. God power is close.
Okay, God energy. What would you like to add?
Yeah, I agree with the brother, and actually, it's been a long line and system of things like that, right? Because we know the original inhabitants of most of these places were melanated people, meaning the originators of the civilizations as well were melanated people. So just as the Greeks had a hand in turning African gods Indo-European and white-looking, right? An example being Osar literally giving a white counterpart with Serapis, right? Literally a white counterpart.
Right.
You can see this process, though, happen all over the globe. I can give an example of Krishna turning blue when the Indo-Iranians migrate into India and start to change the original melanated Dravidian system that had existed there, right? And we can look at Angkor Wat and the people of Khmer, which most people know as Khmer. These peoples were stated by the anthropologist and curator of the Peabody Museum, Roland Dixon, that the peoples of the Khmer civilization, the ones that built Angkor Wat, were short, dark-skinned, flat-nosed, had negroid lips, and frizzly hair. He was describing Black Asian peoples. And you can see how Buddha, just how Krishna went from black to blue, Krishna literally meaning black, Buddha also went from black to a more Asiatic phenotype representing the Dai Viet, who had replaced the melanated Khmer, just like the Indo-Aryans replaced the Dravidians, just like the Greeks and Indo-Europeans replaced the Afro-Asiatics, and just how the colonialists of today have replaced and displaced multiple ethnic groups. So this is a system that continues, and we can cite it through history all over the world because it happened to all of the melanated populations.
So how can we trust that information?
Well, because it's right.
Cross-reference, because not everyone is with the agenda. There are truth tellers. So you have to cross-reference.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. I just want to know about how your presenters feel about this information, because you have a lot of information. And at the end of the day, I'm just the type of person, that's just me. I like to know things. And I want to know why people like us wasn't presenting this information back even in antiquity, period. It's been dominated by the Europeans. So that's my problem with, the history and the way it's been presented to us. So thanks a lot, fellas, and keep up the good work.
Okay, great. Steve, did you want to add anything? Anybody at all? Humble? I'm just gonna pretty much it's open to everybody. Oh, Rebel Rob, my bad. How could I forget I didn't see you, brother. I'm so sorry. Rebel Ra, thank you for joining. What did you think about both presenters' information and who are the Hyksos?
Yeah, man. Give thanks to those of consciousness. HOK Colosseum. We don't know. Blessed to the panel. Everyone, Napar, Steve, God
Peace.
Energy, the Elder. We don't know Apostle, Santan. Cool for everybody. Too much name. Humble everybody. But yeah, it's a topic where the brethren got energy from earlier on. He put on the energy. But my intellectuality was telling me, say, hey, do it in pieces because the energy is so potent and so a lot that he needed the people to interact to kind of absorb it. But I like the energy him putting forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Steve, bless up, you look at it from that historical point of view. Yes, still I wanted you to point out dates, you know what I'm saying, events, people and all that stuff that include the energy more than like you were reading the slide and then kind of summarizing what you read. But at least what you're saying is what the scientists them saying. So it's not your point of presentation or my perspective on it. Is the fact that what we are saying on the board right now, it's accommodative to what the scientists been saying. And we are going back on those scientists who came forward through Josephus. And then we are going through Josephus to Manetho. So at the end of the day, which is back to the Greeks. So, did the Hyksos really come from the Levantine? Are they trying to claim a lineage of a people? Are they trying to make a connection to say that, they're running Egypt now, they're the kings, they're the priests, and they dictate the information. So, but apart from that, the avarice topic, and Altabar, are they the same cities? Because the strontium DNA test saying, hey, we find people there, we find the culture there. Is it one saying that, you know what I'm saying, it's a Greek way of pronouncing it? And is it a Egyptian way of pronouncing it?
So that question is for, obviously, I believe it's for God Energy.
Yes, Steve and God Energy, two brethren, yeah.
Okay, whoever wants to go first.
So I would say that, so Heka Kesut, which was more like kind of like the original pronunciation, it means foreign rulers. And then it was Manetho who started saying Hyksos. And then Flavius Josephus, he then interpreted, he made Hyksos to mean shepherd kings. So it's kind of like a type of corruption, so to speak. But the Hyksos rulers, it's documented that so Hyksos are rulers. It means like Heka Kesut, it means foreign rulers, and they ruled the Avaris region, and you mentioned Tel El Dabar. So they ruled that area for about 150 years. They were there for about 350 years before that. Then they became established, and they brought new technology into the area, such as the horse and carriage, the longbow, and improved metallurgy. And due to the weakening of lower Egypt,
rice. And here's a piece of chicken if you want more chicken. But Dobby, I have some.
You're live. Your mic is
open. Oh, sorry, I'm not. I'm serving dinner. Sorry, guys. My bad.
Right. Right. So an indigenous Kemetic king who strengthened political alliances and maintained peace. The part you read him, okay, yeah. Lower Egypt, it became, there was famine, so then there was an opportunity for the Hyksos, or the foreign rulers, to then dominate, and the native Kemetic rulers
under the groove.
Yeah, the native Kemetic rulers, the one that comes to mind is Amos. He carried out campaigns to push out these foreign rulers. Yes, I'm sorry. I see your finger.
Who's talking, man? There's an open mic somewhere.
Yeah,
just like me.
The brother in the
I made the
middle has
mistake
an
not to
open
mute up.
mic.
I want to ask a question to the
I wanted to actually
presenters.
I wanted to actually respond to the brother as well.
No, and you're going to respond right now.
Okay.
I just want you to also, I want to understand, are we talking about Israelites as well, or we're just talking about just everybody that was Canaanite? Go ahead, God Energy.
At this time period of the Hyksos, you can't be talking about Israel. Like, the kingdom of Israel didn't exist at this time anyway. So there's no way that the Hyksos could be Israelites in any form or fashion. And then the identity of Hebrew wasn't around at that time either. You know what I mean? So they were not connected to Hebrew or Abraham or the Torah or Yahweh or anything like that. Why I say that as well, the material culture that they brought, they were worshiping Anat. They were
what time period are you talking about?
I'm talking about around the 18th dynasty and onward, the Hyksos period, the Hyksos period. The culture that the Hyksos brought was a Canaanite culture. Down from Anatolia, the horse and chariot, the Kopesh that's introduced into Egypt, that curved sword, that Kopesh is the Canaanite sword. They had the eponym Kana. They literally had Canaan in their names. In Josephus's and not Manetho, it's Josephus, and I forgot the other one that was being compared in my presentation. In their king list of the Hyksos, both lists have a figure called Apap Kana as the third ruler. Kana in his name is from Canaan, right? So he has the land of Canaan in his name. The theophoric names that have Anat in them, the Canaanite goddess Anat, also shows their Canaanite identity. They syncretized Baal, Seth, and Amun into one god. Baal is a Canaanite deity, right? So everything about the Hyksos, their culture, their language, everything screams that they are Canaanite. Even the architectural and material culture found at Tel El-Dabah. Donald Redford, the archaeologist, explicitly states that the Tel El-Dabah archaeological site is synonymous with the MB2B Canaanite site that he excavated. So everything is parallel to Canaanite, pointing out that these Hyksos were definitely Canaanites. And the Egyptians, I'm gonna land my plane with this, the Egyptians at that time called these Hyksos as not just Hekakasu, but they called them Amu. This Amuru, Amorite, the same Martu that the Mesopotamians refer to. So they are even named by the Egyptians being Amu, pointing to their Amorite identity.
Okay. So I want to ask some questions for everybody, because when I asked about the time period, you said during when the Hyksos were there, but I'm asking you this, I want to be clear because we're all learning. When you talk about Anat and you're talking about the trade between Kemet and Canaan, right? That's what you're referring to when when you say the goddess Anat, when Kemet was doing trade with the Canaanites. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that also the same time? That's before or after or during the Hyksos expulsion?
This is, well, I'm going to separate Anat from the conversation about trade with the Canaanites, because Anat being a theophoric name amongst Hyksos women when they come in, that doesn't speak to the trade relation conversation, which I'm glad you brought up, because I wasn't able to put that in my presentation. And it's the northern Canaanites in Phoenicia, in Sidon, Byblos, and Tyre that we first see establish trade relations with the Canaanites. That's why the Phoenicians have always been so popular, so rich, so they're so talked about even to this day. Even though they're not labeled Canaanites, everyone knows about the Phoenicians. And it's because they have a rich cultural history and, emergence on the scene with their relationships with Egypt. So it was in Byblos and Sidon where you see this first signs of trade, international trade with the Egyptians.
Okay, so with that understood, because you were mentioning a knot, and I need to, that's the thing with me, I need to get sharp on dates, because are you asserting, and you have information showing that before the Hyksos expulsion, there was a present and a prevalent, how do you say, existence or presence of a knot worship in Kemet in northern Egypt?
When you say before the Hyksos expulsion, that implies it's during the Hyksos period. Is that what you're trying to say? Or are you trying to say?
Because I'm trying to see if, because you said it, they weren't Kemetic, they weren't Israelites. So I want to understand, because most people who say, okay, the Israelites were a part of the Hyksos, not all of the Hyksos were Israelites, but the scholars and those who argue or debate that the Israelites were a part of the Hyksos, it would be, the expulsion would be obviously significant to that particular argument. So that's why I keep saying the expulsion. So before the expulsion of the Hyksos from Kemet, which was presented in Steve's which Steve presented in his presentation, were they worshiping? Can you show us that there's a worship of a knot and a very significant presence of that god being worshipped in Kemet in Avaris?
So, specifically in Avaris, before the Hyksos were there, that I do not know.
Before they were expelled. When they were there in Avaris, can you show us that there was a presence of the goddess of a knot? Because you brought up a knot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if you could reiterate on what you meant by, because when I said were there Israelites, you said the Hyksos were not Israelites,
no.
Meaning okay, so then you said something about a knot, right?
Yeah, there are, in the name list of the Hyksos, there are multiple women carrying theophoric names, meaning names that contain the goddess Anat's name.
Their names. I got you.
That's specifically what I had pointed out in my presentation, as well as Cana or Canaan being a part of Hyksos names as well. So you have a Canaanite god and the land of Canaan being championed in Hyksos names. So you can see, who the Hyksos were and what culture they brought and where they were from. And as well as the Egyptians outright calling them Amun, meaning Amorite.
And what about the information with Josephus and Manetho saying that the Hyksos were, or alluding to, actually explicitly saying that they were Israelites?
I think Josephus says that. I think Manetho says they were Phoenician, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he doesn't say Israel. Neither one of them say, "Oh, these are the Israelites." But none of them say. I just want to make it clear. They don't say they're the Israelites, but information supports that argument. Because when you say that, I didn't understand. I didn't understand what you meant. You're saying there were women who were Hyksos that had the name Anat, which would make sense because the Israelites were Canaanites. They did worship the god Anat. So how would that exclude them, or how is that proof that the Israelites weren't Hyksos?
So the usage of Anat proves that the Hyksos were Amorite Canaanites or were Canaanites. The usage of Anat does not disprove that they weren't Israelites. The fact that Israel did not exist as a kingdom nor as an individual identity at that time is what you have to know that the Hyksos in no way could ever be in anyone's imagination the Israelites, because the identity Israelite and the kingdom of Israel as a political body did not exist at that time period.
Okay, they weren't established as a nation, and they weren't as what Apostle said. They weren't saying we're the Israelite nation. In fact, that really wasn't fully established until the expulsion in the story. So
And what about
again, you're saying that we didn't have their name and they weren't called. Okay, maybe they weren't calling themselves Israelites, but the group of people that are represented in the Bible, you don't see anyone present in that Hyksos occupation. You can't say, okay, this looks like this could be the people that are represented in this book. And see, this is the thing. You're saying no way. You're saying, I'm going to get to you, Apostle. You're saying no way, shape, or form, but there's tons of information from scholars that are presented. I get it. That's not your position, and that's not your narrative, but there is information pointing to Hyksos, the Israelites being Hyksos, and there's also I forget what it is, the Amarna letters, I think, that they're mentioned, but I can go to Apostle for that or someone else. But they're even mentioned that they were present. Kemet mentions them being conquered. Are you familiar with that? That's for you, God Energy. Are you familiar with that information? I don't know if he can hear me. Okay, Apostle, go ahead. What did you want to add?
Yeah.
And then I'll get to you, Humble.
Remember that we entered Canaan with Joshua and Caleb. We crossed that river to go into Canaan. And the first city we conquered was Jericho, which is a Canaanite city.
Yeah, but can you back up a little bit, Apostle, and stay on the subject of?
I'm trying to show that as Israelites, the of Jacob, before Jacob, there is no Israelites. Isaac is a Hebrew. Isaac is not an Israelite. That word Israelite, which means to strive with God, was given to Jacob when he wrestled with the angel. He changed his name. So Israel did not exist. Even Abraham, I keep telling y'all about Abraham's great-great-grandfather, Eber.
Okay, Apostle.
Hebrew comes from. So,
yeah, Apostle, can you talk to us about the Hyksos occupation? Do you have any information? Because I'm going to bring up some stuff. Any information
I can bring
Israel? Okay, go ahead. And then I will get to you. I will get to you, Humble. And it was the Merneptah Stele that I was talking about, but I think also in the Amarna letters there's something. But go ahead, Apostle.
Because of Josephus, in him describing the Hyksos as shepherd kings, the coalition is we were shepherds. But when we were shepherds, mainly before Saul, we had no kings. We were ruled by judges for years. Saul was our first king. He's right before David, so he's about 1200 BC. We didn't have any kings.
Okay, but back to the Hyksos.
The Hyksos
what about
were kings. They had kings, but they were also shepherds.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going. Napat, that was part of my presentation, right? So as Apostle said, it was Josephus, Flavius Josephus, who called them the shepherd kings. But the Hekakasut means foreign rulers, right? So,
and the reason why they say foreign because they was occupied foreign territory.
Right. Me personally, I think that Flavius Josephus and Manato, they had an agenda.
They did.
So, right.
We 100% agree.
If I can get in here really fast, Napa.
Yeah, come on in, please.
Please. So the first thing I want to say is y'all earlier we was talking about the E1B1 aging, right? This is a part of, if any Hebrew Israelite tell you this goes back to Jacob, this is a fallacy. If you ever study where the E1B1A come from, it literally comes from Africa, the sub-Saharan. It do not come from a Jacob. It don't come from an Israelite. It don't come from no Canaanite, right? That's the first thing I wanted to deal with. The second thing I want to deal with, right, is since we're speaking about, and I think this is where people are misconstruing, right? So even in the Bible, right, in Isaiah 52:4, it say, "My people went down into Egypt to sojourn there, and the Assyrians oppressed them without cause." So when we go back and we're talking about the Hyksos, right, we have to remember that the Assyrians ruling Egypt and the Hyksos ruling Egypt are two different time periods. A lot of people like to put the Exodus in the Hyksos era. It wasn't in the Hyksos era. It was in the era of the Assyrians. The Assyrians, which were the ones that are responsible for the Exodus. Now we talk about the Hyksos, right? Like Brother God Energy was just saying. The reason why the Hyksos and the Israelites, right, are unrelated is because they come into two periods of history. When the Hyksos are establishing themselves, right, if we was to look for anybody with that, we would look in Canaan, and they themselves would call themselves Canaanites. They wouldn't have called themselves Amorites. They wouldn't have called none of. They would have called themselves Canaanite. Their culture wasn't invented yet. So when we're looking at the Hyksos and we're trying to compare them to the Israelites, right, we're gonna see a whole lot of anachronisms there, right? And an anachronism is when you take one thing out of a time period and try to superimpose it onto another time period.
Excuse me, humble. Excuse me for a second. Okay,
I got two more points. I got two more points to make, and I'm gonna be done.
I just wanted to know about God energy. I didn't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. So one of my points is when Brother Elder Suntan was speaking about, I wanted to address Elder Suntan, and we was talking about, white scholarship, and colonialism, right? And this is why I piggyback off of Brother Energy, God Energy, when he say we have to cross-reference, right? So because we know these people spin narratives all the time, not just with our history, but with all history. They spin narratives. So when you can actually go and find primary research, right, that either contradict or correlate, that's always the best policy. And my last point is, we don't find a Israel or nothing mentioned to an Israel until the Merneptah Stele in 1208 BCE. So anything before 1208 BCE, we cannot accredit with Israel. Not at all. I land my plane with that. Thank you so much, sister.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. Now let's see who hasn't. Steve, did you want to say something before I move back onto God Energy?
No, I mean, I wouldn't give Flavius Josephus much credit, given the fact that he had an agenda. Just like Manato, again, they had an agenda. Right. They were working. They worked for the people in power, the people and they're also elite. Right. So they're elitists themselves. So they had an agenda, and I would take some of the things that they say with a grain of salt.
Okay, thank you. So I appreciate everybody being here. Please hit the like button. I did want to, because again, this isn't really my lane, but there is information that I know that is compelling information, and it has been debated. So I want to address God Energy. And I heard what you said. I wasn't sure exactly what you meant about Israelite and the Merneptah Stele, besides the fact that, yes, it wasn't during that time period or that dynasty, but it definitely, there's a mention of Israel being conquered by Kemet on the Merneptah Stele. And when I spoke about the Amarna letters, I have the information now. It's the Amarna letters mention, they don't say exactly, the Israelites, because whatever reason, the reason about their naming or them being an established nation, I can acquiesce to that. But there is the Habiru mentioned, and that has been argued by scholars that's referring to the people who we know now, or the biblical Israelites. So that is available information. And so I want you to address that, God Energy. I think he's having some tech difficulties because he's dropping. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with that, but okay, God Energy. I don't know if you heard anything that I said.
He got avatars. He need to let one go.
Oh, are there two of them?
Yeah. They both at the bottom.
Oh
okay,
yeah, this one
it's done.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and address that.
I did hear what you said, and I think my brother Humble Mystic hit the nail on the head with that, though, because to see Habiru and then say Israelite, those two don't equate historically when you look at the archaeological, linguistic, textual evidence, blase. But having familiarity with the Bible would make you say that. And in this era,
no. Don't worry about the Bible and me. Don't worry about me and the Bible. Just
no, I'm not implying.
Just tell us why. Just tell me specifically why. Why, when we see Habiru in the Amarna letters, that you say no, that is not the Israelites at all. Talk about that.
There you go. Because the actions and deeds done by the Habiru, who they were, their interactions with the different peoples at that time, even traveling from Mesopotamia, right, where Apiru comes into play. Just like the Amorites who had a presence in Canaan and Mesopotamia. These peoples do not fit the description of the Hebrews and the biblical narrative or the Israelites when you look at those details. Then when you look at what it is to be an Israelite, when Israelite comes on the scene and these types of things, that's at a very specific period that separates, specific period and place that separates them from the Habiru. So then to hear those sounds together, Habir and Ru, like Hebrew, it makes you think of Israel and the Israel people because we associate those things now because of the biblical narrative. And not to be contentious with my brother, because we stand on a front. Even that Israel on the Merneptah Stela is in question, because since the discovery of the Merneptah Stela, you have one side of scholars that say Israel and one side of scholars that say it says Jezreel, which the inscription could read literally as both, because Jezreel and Israel are literally spelled the same way in that script. So there has always been a line of scholars that says, hey, this really says Jezreel. And in my presentation, I point out how the population density of Canaan leans more to the north, near Phoenicia, near Jezreel. So this is what the focus seems to be. So if it does say Jezreel, then you don't even have an inscription or reference to a people named Israel or Israelite until Delos, Greece, where a Sumerian calls himself Israelite. And this is in the Hellenistic period in Greece. Right. So if the Merneptah Stela says Jezreel, you don't get a reference, mention, or even acknowledgement of Israel until the Hellenistic period in Greece, or the Iron Age kingdom of Yasha Allah. And that's in the Bronze Age with the Hyksos. So every way you slice this, there is no way that there was anyone that was an Israelite or a Hebrew with the Hyksos.
Right. Israel.
Right. So
we need a bomb for that, Sister Napa.
You do.
No, actually I don't. It's all his speculation. I don't drop bombs for somebody's feelings. But I appreciate it, because he's saying, I mean, he just did a presentation saying that the Israelites are Canaanites. That's outside of a lot of scholarly. Hold on. No, not tonight, please.
Yeah.
So I appreciate him coming in. It's great. This is what we want. But he just did a presentation saying the Canaanites are Israelites. I agree, they are. but that's not the consensus. That's not scholarly consensus. So for him to come in and say, even though it says Israel, I found some people that go with how I feel about it, and they think it's Jisrael. So I'm gonna come in here and say, oh, it's Jisrael. So because the scholarly consensus, yes, there's an argument about it, but that is in the minority. It's anyone, even the most hardcore radical Kemetic scholar would come out and say, yes, that does say Israel. But if you want to argue that it says Jisrael, okay, you get what I'm saying? So no bum for that one. But I don't want him to leave. Go ahead, Apostle. You wanted to say something?
Yes. Understand, at that time, there is no word called Israel. That's a corruption from the Greeks. There's nothing called Israel. The I in our language is a long vowel. It's the actual I. So it would not be pronounced Israel with an E sound, a double E sound. That's Greek. The word that we're looking for is Yasharallah. That's the word. That's who we are. The Greeks wrongly interpreted it, just like Hebrew. They now want to say it's Ivri or Ivret, but I done already showed that it's Abayaf.
Please don't start talking about the language. I beg you.
The language is because of the people.
I know, but don't do it. Let's stay on the.
The language reflects the people. I done showed that. Look, you can't get around that. So the thing is, the word Israel comes from a corruption of the Greeks.
Okay, thank you.
To be fair,
okay.
Just fair. Even though that was used to support my statement, I also want to acknowledge that
it actually was. And notice that I'm not biased. He comes in and everybody decides what they want. So you're right. He was supporting you. But go ahead, God Energy, and then we're going to let King J come in. Go ahead, God Energy.
So even though that was in support of my statement, I also want to be intellectually honest and say that even if the inscription says Yashar Allah, in the English production of the scholarship, they would most likely just render it Israel because it's, you know what I mean, the common tongue. So even though you said that to defend me, I also want to be intellectually honest that they could find an inscription that says Yashar Allah and just render it Israel. You know what I mean? Even though your point technically still stands.
Okay, thank you.
And I also said, even if Jisrael was on Minetta Stella, I didn't say that's what I stand by, but I am introducing the scholarship to illustrate that point. You know what I mean? So,
right. And if I could get, before I go to King J, I do want to get back, moving, the Merneptah Stelae wouldn't, and for me, being honest, that wouldn't really pertain to what we're talking about with the expulsion of the Hyksos, right? That's a different time period from what I've seen and I've gathered. So I want to get back to the Hyksos and talking about who they are. Yes, they're Canaan. If they can be an amalgamation, an eclectic group of different people, Amorites, which everybody, it boils down to Canaanites, right? So I'm wondering why you are, not you, but most people try to say, oh no, anything but those people who we say are the Israelites, they definitely weren't there. So every time we point to something that's very compelling, like here's the Habiru, here are the Hyksos that could possibly be the people of the book, the stories seem to really align. It's always for people who have their own bias. We all have our own biases, right? Biases. They go, no. Oh, that could never be. So that's the argument. And this has been going on for decades. This isn't the first time people have gone back and forth about it. Let me let King J get in here and see what he says. Who are the Hyksos and what would you like to add? And I appreciate everybody being here. God Energy, Steve, everybody joining in. It is the toughest environment. So don't take anything personally. If you feel like I'm being a little mean, or tough. It's just the way it goes in here, okay? So go ahead, King J.
So yeah, you were right to get them back on track. Upon the Mermaid Patah Stella has nothing to do with Hyksos. So when we talk about Hyksos, we'll keep it in about the 1450 BC era. I tend to lean towards the Sash. Well, not well. We'll keep it around that area. So we're talking about the elite of the the elite of the Amorite, who come to power and are known to be called by the title Hekakasu, right? The Hyksos. It's a title more than anything that was given to the elite of the Amorites, basically. We look at the Beni Hassan murals, and that gives you examples of the Amu tribes coming from the Levant doing trade with the Egyptians during that time period before they're gone. Before they become elite, they're doing trade in the Nile Delta, those different spots. But yeah, that's the. Hold on one second.
Real quick, let me say shout out the super chat. How Music TV, thank you for the $2 super chat. What's God Energy's Y DNA haplogroup? I don't even want him to answer that because it's irrelevant. I don't care if he's from Mars, but if he wants to, I recommend him not to do that. They're trying to take you off your square. Even though they're probably trying to side with me, but I'm really not. I don't really have a dog in this fight. I just wanted to get the juices flowing here.
But Nepal,
go ahead.
Hyksos don't have anything to do with Israelites at all, because if you look at the time period where we're dating the Hyksos, during like 1450 BC, you find the Solib inscriptions, right, with the Shashu of Yahweh. They're enslaved during that time, so they're not the Hyksos. They couldn't be. They couldn't be.
You know what?
If they're the Shashu of Yahweh, they can't be both.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so we know the Shashu. Those Shashu are basically what Edomite tribes, Midian Transjordian tribes. So they really don't have anything to do with the Levant anyway. You know what I'm saying?
You're saying now you're bringing in the Shasu, which is I'm glad you brought up the Shasu. I want to get back to start with the presenter, Steve, and then I see God Energy. I'm sure he knows about the Shasu. The Shasu were the Shasu because the Amorites were the Canaanites. Were the Shasu also Canaanites when they were present? Were the Shasu also the Hyksos? It's like, let me start with, okay, God Energy, I'm going to get to you, all right? Let me get to Steve. What say ye?
I'm no expert when it comes to these terms and Sashu and all of those things. I just put together a presentation about the Hyksos expulsion, because some people try to say that is equal to the biblical Exodus. And right.
Okay, so go ahead. No, I don't mean to cut you off.
I'm also focused on, what the contemporary science says, what does contemporary history say, and I kind of like try to stay clear of what biblical history says. And
I didn't use any biblical information at all.
No, I'm not referring to you, King.
That's me.
I'm just saying. No, none of you. I'm just saying that the Bible has this.
Okay.
The Bible has its own history, and
Nepal, don't forget about Rakufu. He hasn't even walking yet.
It may not correlate with anthropology and other forms of science. That's all that I'm saying. The Shasu, I have no idea. That's not my field. My field is really science.
Let me. I just thought I might go to you because this is but you were doing the presentation here. So I will definitely give the mic to God Energy. I think he has information. I know he probably does. Go ahead, please. God Energy.
Peace, y'all. The Shasu weren't a group of Canaanites. They weren't in that land, right? They were in Edom. They were, in the part of, like he said, the Transjordan area. They also had a presence in Mesopotamia. They were another group that would go back and forth from Mesopotamia to over in Edom. So they are separate. And you can even see that is where the land of Midian is. Edom, Shasu territory. Midian is also in that area. If you look in the biblical narrative, Moses is a part of a group called the Hebrews. The Hebrews are associated with the Levant in relation to the Canaanites. Moses then travels to Midian amongst the Midianites, whom are not associated with the Hebrews, whom are not associated with the Canaanite
Yeah,
lineage and things like that.
So wait,
Midianites
King J, don't
are
cut him off.
oh,
King J.
okay.
King J.
So
King J.
what I want to say is that the Shasu are associated more with Edom, that lower area, northern Arabia, but it is the transitionary zone between northern Arabia and the Levant. But yes, these Shasu were different from the Hebrew people, so they wouldn't have been a part of that, Canaanite mix of the Hyksos coming down from the north, traveling down a specific landmass area. So that would be
So
my
let's
take
get
on
back to the Hyksos. Thank you. Then let's get back to the Hyksos because I think I recall, again, I'm not an expert on this, but I recall that information that you just presented about the Shasu is accurate from what I've read, that they first, because I thought that I heard King J say they were present in Kemet. So I'm not going to argue with that. So God Energy said they were not, but they were.
The Shasu were present. They were present in Kemetic territory. I'm talking about the Shasu homeland. We're talking about the migrations of peoples. Their homeland is in Midian and Edom. But yes, they had a presence in Kemet. They had a presence all the way over in Mesopotamia. They were part of these traveling groups, just like the Habiru or Apiru. Just like the Amorites, they had a presence in the Levant and in Mesopotamia. There was a lot of, you had Levantine Mesopotamian kingdoms. Yamhad is an entire kingdom that is a Levantine Mesopotamian fusion. So there was a lot of cultural diffusion, genetic introgression, and mixing between the Levant and Mesopotamia,
So you're saying they were migratory and they were in Kemet, but they would migrate back and forth, or that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yes, but their main homeland, the landmass largely associated with them, where it's mostly continuously inhabited by these peoples, is the land of Edom, Midian, that North Arabian, Transjordan area.
So the Hyksos that were also that we know they were in Kemet, were they? How do I say? Were the Shasu a part of that group that were in Kemet?
I doubt it. The Shasu were going through something else at that time. And I also believe King J also said that. So I also want to defer back to the brother who made that point. That's the same thing with Israel and Hyksos.
Let me let Asar and Imka come in and shed some light on the situation. Okay, because I thought of you when Peace Asar. I was just thinking of you when he brought up the Shasu, because you bring up the Shasu. And so were the Shasu the Hyksos as well? What's going on when we use those titles?
You have different right. You have different Shasu groups. So you had Shasu Reuben, Shasu Yao, and I believe there's 6 or 7 different groups in particular, as you see them in my truck right now. So you had those different groups. The Shasu Yao at that time was in a different location than where people point at when you say, oh, they're Israelite. They were in a different location. But and let me shout out to both the brothers' presentations. I haven't seen the one that just took place. I'm going to go back and check it, but I did see our other brother earlier. When it comes to locality, we talked about the Merenptah Stela earlier. The Merenptah Stela, when you go to the Journal of Egyptian Archaeology, I want to say number 18. I'm just pulling from my mind. It says that Merenptah actually makes the trip over to that lower part of Syria, where you find Sarab and where you find initially Yahweh believers, and so that's where he makes his trek to, and that's where it says he finishes up. We believe it says Syrian for the first time, and Hebrews believe it says Israel for the first time, which it really would say, if it was that, it would be Yisriari, the way it's dissected. But if that's the case, he still went to the lower part of Paran, Sidon, and that third locality in the Bible where the Yahwists were. So at that time, that's where they would be. And at that time, where you find current Israel would be Canaan. It's even lower than where the Amorites were on the map. So if you look at those localities, you know that if he's dealing with somebody, he's dealing with Syrians who believe in Yahweh at the time. And that would be where you find like a lot of Arabia and stuff now, little higher up, but not in Israel yet. Israel is still Canaanite country. And you can go look at the map on Bible Hub. I showed it in the debate with me and my brother Kassad. So it's not like it's not known. It's not like the archaeologists don't know that. It's very easy to go see, find out, and show these things. So Yah appears to be, and I'm gonna land my plane here shortly. Yah appears to be transcribed over some of the other deities and brought in and filtered in, and it appears that there was a Syrian Canaanite war at some point in time, and when that takes place, and you get the beef ends, then that's when you get a mixture of the Canaanites and Syrians calling themselves Israelites later on in the picture.
Never happened. Never happened.
Okay, let me get in here and ask a question to everybody. So you say the Shasu were what you said, there were different groups of Shasu. I think the thing with me and for a lot of people is like at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to ever look at something and say, oh, here's where the Israelites are right now. That's why we have all these conversations, right?
Right.
The main thing at first we were saying, were they of African DNA, and then it kind of migrated into, are any of them Israelites?
Well, Nepal, here's the issue. And you might remember when I asked at the end of the debate. So I said, are you Canaanites? And no, I ain't no Canaanite. The problem is this. If you want to claim early Israeli tradition, which means that you're trying to claim, you're either doing one or two things. You're claiming the Syrian faction or you're claiming the Canaanite faction.
Either one.
Canaanite has the Elion and et cetera in it. The mighty bull, all that stuff. So if you wanna try to claim early Israeli ties, then you need to claim your Canaanite roots.
Nah.
If you don't want to claim those ties and you want to say Yah, then you need to claim your Syrian roots.
Nah.
Because Sidon and Paran is in your Bible. So you're not going to fight your Bible. Sidon and Paran is in the Canaanite text. Sidon and Paran in the Akkadian text, not the Ugaritic text, is where you first find Yahweh, and then you see him and Baal with similar stories, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to pick correctly.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah,
that's where the confusion come in at, because Israel only
he just asked God Energy, Apostle. I'm sorry, but he asked if he could add on to that. And then Apostle, you said you wanted Ra Khufu to go, right, Elder?
Yeah, because that's the only person on the panel we haven't heard from.
Well, we did. I think we heard from him early on, but if we didn't, I apologize. Let me let God Energy respond, and then we'll go to Ra Khufu.
No, I wanted to say thank you to the brother for confirming what we were saying about that relationship between the different peoples, and that in the presentation that Sidonians, this distinction between Phoenicians and Sidonians, and this distinction between the Canaanites and Syrians, it bears weight in conversations like this. It bears weight in conversations like this, and that Yahweh being of the north is more of what you see, even though you see him associated with the Shashu who were in the south, and even though in the Bible itself it says Yahweh, you came from Seir in Edom, the archaeological record actually points more to Syria and northern Syria, so even close to the Hittites, for this origin of Yahweh. So you can't get around it.
Could I respond to? Could I respond to that, brother? Only because you say you can't get around it, brother, and you honestly made that up because we don't see any archaic worship of Yahweh in the Levant at all, brother. The first historical mention of Yahweh is that Solib inscription, and it's in Meter. You find more instances. Hold on. You find more instances of the occurrence of a yod and a hav and a vav in Meter than you do in any Israelite text. So,
Israel,
but you made that up. We find El worship. Hold on, brother. Hold on. We find El. Hold on, brother. We find El worship. We find theophoric names with El, the deity El, not the deity Yahweh. We find that Jacob dedicated the temple of Bethel. Right? What does Bethel mean?
House of hell.
House of God. Right.
Yeah, but
it's not Bet Yahoo.
No,
it's not Bet Yahweh.
either.
Right. So you don't have any occurrences of Yahweh until they start synchronizing and assimilating in pantheon reduction. That's when you see Yahweh. But if you're talking about the time period that we're actually talking about, there is no Yahweh in the land of Canaan at all. So what DNA? What are you talking about?
You could have started off with that question, but also I actually wanted to ask you and clarify. You said the first mention or inscription of Yahweh was where? I couldn't hear what you had said.
It's the Solib inscription, brother, and they're in Sudan. It's Egyptian. You find the first inscriptions of it being in the reed leaves, the S and the R, Yasir.
All right, so that actually
like the brother Asar kept mentioned earlier. But that dates to 1450 BC. The Soleb inscription is 1450 BC. So that's where you have Yahweh worship. So either you're going to say that's Yahweh. So wait. Hold on. Let me make my distinction. You're going to say you're either those Sashu groups, right, who are Transjordan, or you can only say that you're the Amu groups, which are Levantine, that area. They're totally different. The Amu are who we see are we see the Amu in the Beni Hassan murals. We see the Shashu of Yahweh in the Solib inscription, and also the Amera West inscriptions of Pharaoh Ramses III. Right? Those are totally different people groups. So you're going to, like what the brother said, you're either going to say you're them or Egyptians. Which are you? Which one are you? Pick one. Guess what? None of them are Amorites. None of them are Hyksos.
Right.
Hyksos, you mentioned these groups earlier. When I say Hyksos, I mean Amorite kingdoms. You know I'm talking about the kingdom of Mari. You know I'm talking about the kingdom of Yamha.
We agree about that.
I'm talking about all of that, brother. All of that is Amorite stock. Even when you get into Hammurabi,
rambling.
What is Hammurabi daddy name?
Brother, me and you agree on
Ibir Anu.
You have to slow down. Me and you agree on this point about the Amorites and that identity. You went so long, you got off of the point that we disagree about and moved on to a point that we agree about as if we disagree.
So the Amorites
okay, I'm gonna give the mic over to this God Energy and let's let him respond to King James.
Go ahead.
Ooh, so the only little thing I'm gonna say is that some of the earliest attestations of Yahweh is the Shashu inscription and the Kuntalet Adjured fragment, but also you have some of the oldest inscriptions of Yahweh coming from almost literally a Hittite source that is quite old. So this presence can be found both places. I'm not married to any of this. I just came across some information that recently made me change my view on Yahweh's southern origins. So this isn't a topic that I'm married to like that. But all I'm introducing is that there's some old stuff coming from nearly the Hittites that you might want to check out and add that. But I actually don't care to argue this. But I'm just introducing a little Hittite stuff.
I think they have to come later, though.
Well, can Raku get in here and let's see what he wanted to say?
Yes, he can. And if I may go after. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, I had a whole nother can of worms I wanted to open, so I want to wait unless you're going to let me open it. It was dealing with the sickle cell thing what I had other night. And
Oh no, let's not get into that right now.
So what do you say?
All right. Well, because who was bringing? Was that a topic of today?
No.
Oh yeah, no. We got to stay on the topic, my friend.
No,
I don't remember what we said about sickle cell tonight.
Yeah.
Not tonight, never. Yesterday.
Oh, that was a good build yesterday, and I want this to end up to be good. We've been up here for a good 2 hours. Basically, Apostle is gonna go, and then I think we lost Steve. Damn, I was just gonna say it's probably late for him.
Asar's gone too.
Well, that's that.
Okay, I'll bring this
Oh
up.
well, I'm gonna let you close out. Steve, I wish you would have said you wanted to leave. I'm sorry.
Steve is here.
No,
Oh,
I'm right here.
oh, is he?
Yeah.
Good, because it is his. It is his presentation. I want him to be the
Yeah,
the final.
I would do that. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I know it's late where you are. So I'm going to start closing it down soon. Apostle, say what you need to say, and we'll start wrapping it up.
Real quick. This is part me, okay? Yahweh is a corruption of modern times, Jewish Ashkenazi influence on the Tetragrammaton, which has been removed basically from scripture. Israel only worshiped El, Baal, Yahweh in error, following after Canaanites when we were told not to mingle with them, not to take their gods, not to marry them, stay away from them. We didn't listen, just like we don't listen today. But that Tetragrammaton, the only letter can go with that word, spell or pronounces the word Yahweh, not Yahweh. Yahweh, that name was given to Moses, and that name is interpreted, he exists. With that determinative, if I'm gonna flip it and speak from God's voice, I will say, Aye, Asha, Aye. I am that I am. But since I'm not God, I say, Yahweh, he, Yah, he. Yahweh exists. That's what Yahweh means. He exists. That's what it meant then. That's what it meant now. And that's who he told Moses who he was. I am that I am. I'm the God that exists. Yeah, there's been polytheism. We call it henotheism. Many gods. The Lord told us not to act like these gods. Satan is a god. Don't act like these gods don't exist. Just don't worship them. Because to these people, they exist. And let them do what they got to do. You serve me. That's what Manasseh didn't do. Manasseh betrayed. He didn't listen to God. He listened to the divination. He listened to the evil, corrupt spirits and sacrificed his son. God didn't ask him to do that. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Apostle. Thank you very much. Okay, moving along. I think did
Easy band.
Okay, Easy Band, come on in. And I really say that I'm sorry you're so late. What would you like to add? The presentation was on tonight on both platforms, the Hyksos and the Canaanites.
Yeah, it was a good presentation, man. Respects to you for putting it. There's a lot of information, man. I'll tell you that.
There's two people who did presentations. Steve did a presentation on the Hyksos, and then the Brother God Energy did the presentation on the House of Consciousness.
So I only seen part of is it God Energy? I only seen part of his presentation. Sorry, brother, I missed yours. I was a little bit tied up. But I'll
That's
see if I
fine. You
can
can
watch
go
the
back.
replay for sure.
Mhm.
But so just to touch on God Energies, of course, man, you did a great job, you know, presenting all that information. It's a lot to present. I respect it. But my opinion is that there is some good information in there. There's some stuff that I even agree with in terms of like I've been thinking those type of ideas. And it's good to see you be able to put it all together in a way that makes sense. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of area where you're like adding to what the scholars are saying from your own, you know, I guess you could call it bias or whatever. One of the areas I wanted to touch was when you're talking about Zadok. Do you just want to clarify that for me, brother, before maybe I can rebut?
Yeah, because I didn't bring any of like my opinion. I just referenced all those scholars. Like the part from Zedek was from Sanko Niethan's Phoenician History, the book I have here. Then the part about Melchizedek was from Encyclopedia Britannica. So I didn't add my opinion to anything. Are you talking about Zedek, the God portion, or the Melchizedek part, or the entire thing?
The Melchizedek part and how you put them together. Like you tied them together, right?
I didn't tie them together. No. By definition and via Encyclopedia Britannica, Melchizedek and his name means my king is, and referring to the god Sedek. Also, that god Sedek is attested to in Sanko Niethan's Phoenician history. This is how the two sources relate. The god Sedek is attested to in Sanko Niethan's Phoenician history. So that is a mythology that talks about or mentions this god Sedek, right? The same way that the any Egyptian papyrus would mention one of the Egyptian gods. This Canaanite text mentioned a Canaanite god. It happened to be Sedek. So that establishes that Sedek was a Canaanite god, right? Then also Melchizedek, his name means my king is, and then Encyclopedia Britannica went out of its way to put the god Sedek. So you knew that it was referring to the god Sedek. And then, you know, we could move forward.
Okay, so what's the earliest reference or direct evidence for this god Zedek?
So it may be Sanko Niethan's Phoenician history, but I actually did not look for what the earliest attestation to the god Sedek is. It wasn't relevant to my presentation.
I'll just say that the earliest direct evidence of this being, right, would be the Bible itself, and like names the name Melchizedek and what is it, Adonizek?
Adonizek. My Lord is Sedek.
Lord, Adonai.
Yeah.
So
my point of bringing this up is just that, yeah, okay, there might have been a deity at one point that had a personal name, Sedek, right? But by the time of Abraham and Melchizedek and all these kings over there, it wasn't being used as his personal name anymore. It was just like a divine attribute. Same way you have El and Leon in the Bible, representing or being used for Yahweh. You get what I'm saying?
That's the euhemerizing reduction of divinity. Also, I think you're speaking as if Abraham and Melchizedek were actual people. So now I also have an insight into where your logic is with this. So, and that's why the chronology you brought up with the Bible and stuff like that.
That's just to the point.
But no, I get it. I'm just responding. But I do think there's relevance in Sanko Niethan's Phoenician history and what it brings forth. You know what I mean? So that's not the only theophoric name that we have that we're dealing with. We can have this conversation about Shalem as well, and Yarushalem and Shalamin and Abshalem. All of these references to Canaanite deities that are preserved in the Israelite narrative of the Bible. So, you know, I don't know where he's trying to go with that.
And meaning peace. That's the correlation.
What'd you say, Apostle?
That's only the correlation. He's talking about all these salams.
Yeah.
Like in a Muslim would say, Akalam Salaikum, Wakalam Salaikum. We say Shalom or Shalom.
Yep.
But that word only means peace.
Yep.
King of righteousness, he was the king of peace.
Yes.
The main thing is to equate him with Christ is not to equate Christ with Melchizedek, but to equate Christ with the type of priesthood that Melchizedek had. Understand, Melchizedek had no beginning, no end, no mother, no father. So that lets you know there's some allegory being taught here. And we see that it says that Christ is after the priestly order of Melchizedek, meaning he's not after the Levitical priest order.
Yeah,
that's not his order. He's of Melchizedek's order, that I have called you to be a priest forever. So,
all right, go ahead, man.
No, I think it's relevant that Abraham is the first Hebrew. Right, I think it's relevant that Abraham is the first Hebrew, according to whatever popular people. Yeah, right. You could drop your perspective on that. I'm interested in that. But I think it's interesting that Abraham is the first Hebrew, and Melchizedek and his order was going on in the land of Canaan. Then Abraham travels to the land of Canaan, encounters Melchizedek, and whatever Melchizedek was doing, then. We see this emergence of whatever Abraham drops after. Whatever Melchizedek was doing, because it existed before and outside of Abraham and his first Hebrewness. So I do think that is a little relevant to add to the conversation. I don't know if I'm involved in this conversation anymore, but thank you for asking your question.
But I do want to, before anybody jumps in, I want to take it back to what in his presentation, when he presented, that was irrefutable evidence that there's a God Zedek. So I don't get it. Like, what is the argument?
But the argument is this. I'm trying to ask you the question. Melchizedek is the priest of El Elyon.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my point.
So that's why I'm busting. So that's why I'm saying, like, he can't look at that name and say it's a theophoric name and it's to the guy Zedek. No, he's literally saying he's the priest of El Elyon.
My point that I wanted to bring to the brother is that he tried to
say El and Elyon meaning the Most High.
Yep.
I need to ask him. I need to get back to God energy for my own self. Like, so what did you say? What is the God Zedek?
That's where they're at. They're in Canaan.
Okay, I want him to just be the only one on the mic when I hand it over to him. Who is the God Zedek in your presentation when you were showing Melchizedek that name? Who is that God? What people? What origin?
Yeah, so Zedek is a northern Canaanite deity. He's mentioned in Sancho Nietan's Phoenician history. He's also attested to being the father of Eshmun. Eshmun, I showed the temple of Eshmun in my presentation as well. Eshmun being a healer, a healing figure before Christ. Eshmun also being referred to as the oiled one before Christ. So you have this oiled one healer that existed before Christ, and his name is Eshmun, and his father is the god Zedek, who Melchizedek is named after. Interestingly enough,
you made that up, brother. You didn't reject that.
Why are we interrupting? Relax,
King
brother.
J. King J, I'm gonna get to you.
I like y'all. I like King J. You said a lot of good stuff. I agree with your stuff. The brother underneath can't see what your name is, but we all friends up here, right? So let's just let each other speak. So with that, Zedek is that northern Canaanite deity. Eshmun is the oiled one and is a healer figure. It's funny that the next healer figure, who is the oiled one, also is proclaimed to come in the order of Melchizedek, whose name preserves the god Zedek, whose son was the first healing oiled one. And I brought this up that in the Semitic tongue, being that oiled one is cognate with what? Meseh. in Greek, being that oiled one is cognate with what? Krio. So this Eshmun, to the Greeks who would have been there and to the Semitic people speaking there, this healing Canaanite oiled one god would have been a Krio Mesech, according to the linguistics. Am I saying this, that, and the third? No, but I'm putting out all of these details out there. That's where Sedek fits in.
Okay, and then I want to add this with the Hebrew, it's Malach Zedek. So that's the other Canaanite god that's in that name. It's not just that god he's mentioning, the Malach, which is it's not Mel, it's Malach Zedek. So that is also, Moloch is also a Canaanite god as well. So just adding that. Go ahead, before it was a Hebrew title.
Yeah, well, yeah, but we know Malach in Hebrew is king, not God.
Yeah, in Hebrew, but before it was Hebrew, it was a Canaanite god.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah, I mean, they worship Baal too. They worship Moloch.
Go ahead, King Jay. You wanted to come in, and then I'm going to let Easy Bands and then Asar.
I mean, the point that you just brought up, Nepal, lets you know that that's named is not a theophoric name.
I can't really. You're having some tech difficulties.
You got mic problems, man.
I didn't hear you.
You need to go out and come back.
Hold on.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Kind of better.
Okay. But yeah, El is the head of the Canaanite family. I can ask the brother who was
yeah, it's too much. King Jay.
Yeah, your mic is messing up.
Okay,
I'll come back in. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, come back. Go ahead, Easy Bands, and then I'm gonna let you in, Asar, after Easy Bands. And then we can.
You want me to let him in?
All right.
Sure, when he comes back. Thanks.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
First off, brother, like you know
Oh,
the last statement.
he's already in. Good.
So yeah, brother, the last statements that you made, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like you're tying things in to what and adding a little bit to what the scholarship is. When it comes to Melchizedek and how you brought the Phoenicians, because like if you look at, for instance, the Canaanite pantheon, you never find a god named Sedek, right? And if anything, the what Sedek means, righteousness, justice, are used for gods like El in the Canaanite pantheon. But go ahead if you wanted to jump in to have a dialogue.
Yeah, after you respond to him, God Energy, I do want to let Asar come in, and then if everybody's okay, I think we could close it down and do our last final words. Go ahead, God Energy.
Sorry, I only raised my hand just to indicate that I would like to speak whenever the brother was done. I was not raising my hand to try to cut you off, just so you know as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
okay.
Are you implying that because you haven't seen Sedek in the Ugaritic text, or you haven't come across Sedek in your research about Canaanite gods, that I am making up that Sedek was a northern Phoenician god?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm the one that
I want to understand.
That even told you that the earliest direct evidence of a god named Sedek is from the Bible, because those names are preserved, right? Basically, it's like a dead name that's preserved in culture as culture goes on. So my point to you was basically that it might have been a personal personal name of a god at one point, but by the time of the Hebrews and the Israelites, that it wasn't being used as the name of a god. It was just like a title at that point for righteousness.
I get that. I have a friend who's a Hebrew Israelite where he says that the same time. But in my presentation, it does acknowledge that Sedek is cognate with the Hebrew word Sedek that doesn't have the deified element to it. So in case you were trying to prove that to me, I acknowledge that. I know that. I agree with you that is the Hebrew cognate, and that was in my presentation. So I was honest about that relationship between the two words as well, in case you glossed over that.
Okay.
So I definitely acknowledge that. That's why I was trying to figure out like what exactly was your problem with me. But you know what I mean? But I get what you're trying to say is that it's not talking about a god, even though yes, a god did have that name.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like further evidence of that is the Canaanites, how they used that same title for El, right?
Yeah, it's interesting though, easy bands. And I know I got you, Asar, you're coming in. It's like every time someone shows all of these Canaanite gods to people, like to Israelites or Bible believers, you always say, "Oh, that's just a title," but they're still names of these gods. It's Baal, El, Sedek, like these are gods, Canaanite gods. So.
But
You know what I'm saying? It's like, when are you guys going to go, okay, I get it. Must have been some worship of Canaanite gods down the road, if not all the time. When are you going to just acknowledge that?
So the whole religion, this is the thing, Nepal, and that's a good point you brought up. The important thing to know is that the Hebrew Israelite faith is a polemic against these gods and against the culture around it. So you're going to find elements in there where say some God's attributes are basically absorbed into Yahweh.
Easy band. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me a little bit better now?
Yeah,
we hear you better.
Okay,
Yeah.
Now, give me.
But King J, just because we can hear you, my friend, let him please finish, and then I will pass the mic to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you might find titles that were used for previous gods being now used for Yahweh. Basically, it's showing that Yahweh is and has always been this almighty creator, right? And that's what's going on. Hebrew Israelite religion is actually a polemic against the Canaanite pantheon and the Kemetic gods and all these gods around the area. But go ahead.
Sure, it's a polemic, but they're still using the names of the gods. Come on, it's like, think about that. Go ahead, King J.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off what Easy Band is saying in regards to these titles or epithets, being generic, common nouns, basically. But what I really want to get at is basically what the brother was hitting about Zedek. Like, if we know that El is El Malek, I want to ask him, what pantheon is Zedek the head of in the Canaanite pantheon? Because to my knowledge, El
I don't think he even said anything about that. I'm not just trying to take anybody's side.
But hold on, because he's insinuating, he's leading, because if not, why are we even talking about Zedek?
Because the God's name is Zedek. He doesn't need me to fight for him.
We do. But please don't.
This is a
please don't.
Go ahead. Finish, King J, and I'm going to let him respond to you. And then Asar's waiting. Go ahead, finish, King J.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Please don't. Because we don't find Zedek the head of any pantheon, in any Canaanite pantheon. We have El as the head of the pantheon, and then El has 70 sons. So any deities after El is going to be a son of El. It's going to be a minor deity to him. Did those deities, minor deities, become the head of some other pantheons and some local cults? And yeah, they did. They are Elions of some of the sons. But El is always the original head of the Canaanite pantheon, and he had 70 sons. And then I always give Deuteronomy 32 as the example of Yahweh being assimilated into the pantheon in the Bible from the Ugaritic tradition of El and the 70 sons. But go ahead.
Okay.
But I don't see Zedek, so I just wanted to ask him, where is Zedek the head of anything?
Thank you very much. Go ahead,
I think you might be misunderstanding the correlation between Melchizedek and his name, and then Melchizedek being the priest of El Elyon. So let me clear that up for you. Because his name is a theophoric name, which in my presentation, it says it's a popular Canaanite name. So what I'm saying is that Melchizedek has a popular Canaanite name, and that Canaanite name simply means my king is Sedek, referring to the Canaanite god Sedek, because it is a Canaanite name. I am fully aware that he was the priest of El Elyon, even though he has a theophoric name involving another deity, just to clear that up in case that's what you were making your argument stand on.
So who's the god he's worshiping?
This
You
person,
DJ, you just
like
done
me,
cut him
man.
off.
Come on.
I thought he was asking me a question. I thought he asked me
no.
that. Okay.
No.
It was rhetorical. Everybody can understand it was rhetorical. Go ahead.
Secondly, to my other brother and his point, what you were saying correlates to the end of my presentation. If I'm saying that these people are Canaanites, then why is the entire Bible, the Old Testament, polemicizing against the Canaanites? What you just asked was the crescendo of my presentation. It was the grand finale reveal of my presentation. And the reason that they are polemicizing against the Canaanites is because when the Bible was produced in the Hellenistic era, the Canaanites of that day were the Carthaginians. And these Greek producers of the Bible are polemicizing against the Carthaginians. And they are advertising this polemic to the Yahwists, who are themselves polytheistic or henotheistic, practicing that monolatrous focus on Yahweh, yet still not of this monotheistic Hebrew identity yet. So the Greeks put up this polemic to turn these Yahwists against their cousins, the Carthaginians, whom still practice full-blown Canaanite religion. So that's why the Bible polemicizes against the Canaanites, even though it is based on Canaanite sources, culture, and texts. Thank you for asking that question.
Hold on, everybody. Hold on, everyone. Okay, so now I gotta ask God Energy. You're saying that the Bible was written. What are you saying? The Septuagint was the first Bible? What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't have an Old Testament narrative Torah Hebrew Bible before the Septuagint. And when you talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Septuagint is a Dead Sea Scroll. It was found at Qumran in the Qumran caves in the Dead Sea. The Septuagint is literally a Dead Sea Scroll. And you don't have a Torah Old Testament prophets patriarch narrative before that time period, per my presentation. That's why it might have been important to, you know what I mean? But it's up there.
Wait, everybody, hold on. I got to get to Asar. But so you're saying that the Qumran scrolls are contemporaneous with the Septuagint? They are the same.
Yes, everybody.
Some of them predate.
Yeah, that is the established scholarship of the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're definitely contemporaneous.
What I'm trying to ask is, I get what you're. Okay, so basically, the Book of Job was written during the time the Septuagint was created. It wasn't them sitting down copying from the scrolls. They actually wrote the Bible during that time.
Yeah,
the Bible.
Is that what you're asserting?
Yes, it is a product of Alexandria and the Hellenistic era. Yes, and that's what Gad Barnea and Jonathan Adler, the last two scholars that I referenced, the archaeologists. That is what they put forth. That is what they wrote.
All the Bible was created during the time of the Alexandria. It doesn't predate that.
No, the Bible does not predate Alexandria. No, the Bible does not predate Alexandria.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Again, somebody said I was being mean to you because they felt like you were gonna, melt, but you seem pretty tough. Sanetter gets in here and he beats up people, talks about their God, calls them all kinds of stuff, and people are pretty tough in here. So again, when I said to you earlier about when our friend Humble said, drop the bomb, I said, I don't drop the bomb for people's feelings and what is not actual. We can get facts. We can get historical facts that the Septuagint wasn't the first production of the Bible. So I just want to say thank you for being tough. Thank you for being able to stand your ground. But again, you see, everybody has their own personal spin on things. And it does go against mainstream historical evidence. And that's great. We all do it. So welcome to the team. Welcome to the family. God Energy. So let's go and move on to Asar Imka. What do you have to say about that, Asar? Even you don't assert that. I know you aren't going to come in and put a stamp on.
Well, I actually know some of the locations to find it in. I'm going to let you speak real quick, Apostle. Go on and say what you're going to say, bro.
Yeah, now I was just saying that the Septuagint, which means 70, was translated for Greeks and the Hellenist time that could not read Hebrew and wanted to learn the Bible because the Greeks' army had started being swelled up with Hebrews, Israelite soldiers, and so was asked to translate a book. But the receptive, all of these
Text receptive.
all of these books were before the Septuagint.
I don't think the Textus Receptus is before the Septuagint.
I think it was. I think it was.
No. Septuagint came first, but I get basically you were right until you kind of went off the rails with that one across.
I think it was, and I can check it out. But I know it didn't. It came from the Quran area, but it was an actual translation. It's not part of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
No,
it's not. But I'm saying the go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that it was part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I want to say one last thing, and I'm gone. Last words.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The same thing he's talking about how people correlate things. Like he mentioned Moab, and in mentioning Moab, he mentioned the Moors, associating the Moors with Moab, who Lot's daughter had sex with her father and created a son named Moab. So the Moabites were around long before the Moors. The Moors basically came out of Mauritania, Morocco. Before Spain was Spain, it was Tarshish. This is very, very recent. This is like less than 2,000 years ago when the Moors were started in Spain.
Okay.
Coming out of Africa.
Right, we got to come back to
nothing to do with the Nile Valley. I had that discussion with whatever his name is, and tell him up on it. Because he wanted to say that Moor and Moab is the same. It's Moab.
I agree with you.
Hold on before we get off track.
I know that dude.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, they don't went into the Moor.
You handed him the bicycle to just ride around the corner. He started just going all the way.
I said go to the corner store and get some cigarettes. I didn't tell you go to the mall. So look, with this particular conversation, we got to look. Well, we look at a couple things, right? Because if we're talking about the Melchizedek, we're dealing with Philo, who mentions him first around when he's discussing the Logos in Egypt. And we can't throw Philo out and say the Aristeas letters aren't true, because the Septuagint testifies that they did do that with 70 of their people, and they say it in a more ruthless way. They say like, yeah, Ptolemy's locked us up. It's in the very beginning of the Septuagint where they discuss it, and they say, yeah, that so-and-so who forced us in the rooms to do such and such, to come up with the laws. And so we know the Aristeas letters can't be just fake or outright untrue, because it says that Ptolemy gathered those gentlemen to get the law of Israel, put them in the 70 rooms, put it together, and they put it together in a manuscript in Alexandria, along with the Codex Alexandria, which is one of the very first Bibles, along with things like the Nash Papyrus as well. Now, when we look at Melchizedek, we find him in the Dead Sea Scrolls in 11Q. I think it's 11Q. So we see him already in the Dead Sea Scrolls in 11Q. So we know that they discussed that particular god at that time. The question is not, are these different gods? We know Yahweh was a war god. We know Yahweh came to whoop heads and do what he wanted to do and lay his law. He's a jealous God. Marcion of the different sect didn't like him, spoke against him. But eventually, after those wars with Yahweh and the Canaanites, eventually you end up with the text that you have now because of those wars. So Yah is not, you know, he's perceived to people who read the Bible now, oh, he's a good guy. But for ancient Christians and ancient cultures, he's not. He's seen as a war god similar to Baal. But when you start to put your Bible together, you can see the different texts from these different gods coming together to try to unify. Eventually, they agreed to having 3 bear record in heaven, even though we know the 3 are separate, because Jesus could not have made himself or slept with Mary.
True.
Nor does the Holy Ghost serve the same pattern that Yahweh does, nor can he be Elion. He can't be the Most High, and he can't be Jesus.
The Holy Ghost is
So we know the 3 is still separate, but they act according to each other as one. But there'll always be 3 separate deities. So it's still polytheistic, monoliteral, and it's a lot of henotheism still going on there. And we know where they get it from. So yeah, plain landed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Apostle. I want to ask, we're going to close out. Everybody, thank you for being staying here so late. I do want to pull this up because, you know, listen, take the, you know, what is it? Take the meat. They say spit out the bones. I never spit out the bones. I keep them on the side. Might need them for tools or bone broth. So with your presentation, both of you, I like how Steve is very, you know, he's an educator, so he's very cut and dry. He's embarking on the information about the Hyksos, like kind of in a freshman level. And then we have other people on the panel, of course. I see God Energy, King J, Apostle, and Asar Imkad. They're on different. They're on a different level, right? They've moved forward in their studies. What they surmise is for you to pick out if you are in the audience and you say, oh, I like what King J said. Oh, I like what God Energy says. With that said, I appreciate both of the presentations. Yes, bone broth. I see the audience. But I do want to ask God Energy, what about this particular information? Because I know you have an answer for it. You know who he reminds me of? Asar, because you come from from the league. He reminds me of the brother that always had a great answer for when no matter what you present. You are one of them, but you didn't even go that far. Like Lex Vortex, or like I don't want to say the brother's name because we don't get along with him, but people who really, really teach against the Bible. So I'm going to present.
Kansu and them.
Yeah, Kansu, all of the, you know, the chemosirets. So I want to ask him this, if he, I'm saying, dang, where's Yara when we need him? Because he's got so many battle scars going back. I want to ask you about the, a lot of people know about it, the Hinnom, it's hard to say, the Hinnom scroll. So, So I know, see, he's already ready. He's got it, because no matter what you present, right? This isn't, you're not going to say that this is not real, are you? Because that's something Lex Vortex might have said.
Yeah.
Is this authentic? First off, I want you to address that it's, it predates the Dead Sea Scrolls by like what, 600 years, 500 years?
Yeah, it definitely predates the Dead Sea Scrolls, but
and then it would predate the Septuagint 1,000 years, correct? Give or take, or no?
It predates the Septuagint, blase. What you're trying to imply is that this is
not blase. No. You've been so great. I want you to stay scholastic and be very professional. Does it predate the Septuagint? Like, even if you don't agree, does it?
Yes, it does. It predates the Septuagint. It predates the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Is it authentic, or is you going to say it's fake?
300 BC, right?
It's from 6th century BCE. But is it authentic? That's what I want to establish that before you start getting into it, because I do want to hear from you. Is it authentic?
It is not a forgery. It is not a forgery.
So it's not a forgery. So I'm going to pull this up while you speak on it, and I'll read a little bit for the audience.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So Gad so again, the scholar Gad Barnea also touches on this, that the Hinnom, and what that is like the Dear Allah inscription. Yeah, or sometimes they call them the silver scrolls. It's an amulet, right? It's an amulet. This is the one thing I didn't put in there. Thank you. It's an amulet, a protection amulet that was popular to ward off the evil eye. Right. So what this is a polytheistic, cultic type of item, a divination, Canaanite polytheistic amulet that wards off the evil eye. And it has a prayer on it. And that same Canaanite prayer you see appear in the Bible. Another preservation
Can you say that again? Can you say that again? Hey, I know. No, I'm just asking you, can you repeat that so people can hear you say that it's actually in the Bible? It's the Bible, right?
What verse?
No, it's not.
No, let me just let him. So it's not a verse from the Bible.
Can I speak?
Yes.
No, you can, but I just wanted you to clear. Everybody's been doing this. Is this triggering you because it's kind of putting you on the spot? Like, is it in the Bible? Yes or no? Is it a verse from the Bible?
This is another Canaanite syncretism that made it in the Bible. I said thank you for bringing this up because this was the one thing I didn't put in here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So go on.
Thank you. Is everything all right? This is
the one that seems to be triggered. I mean, I'm just asking you to clarify.
Thank you. This is a protection amulet to ward off the evil eye, and it has a very specific prayer. This is a divination device. This is a Canaanite amulet, and the prayer from this Canaanite amulet you see show up in the Bible, just like all of the other Canaanite syncretisms, like the Baal language that ends up in the Bible. So this is like the Ugaritic Baal cycle that ends up in Psalms. This is another Canaanite cultic inscription that also ends up in the Bible.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. Hold on. Now you're saying what you're alluding, Apostle. What you're alluding to is that this somehow in the production of the Septuagint, they gathered all this stuff that was Canaanite and they made a Bible. But why was this only discovered in 1979? Like, what they do? Wait, before you answer, did they have it in Kemet? And then they went and buried it again. I'm trying to get where you're going with this. I don't understand. No, I want to hear from him because what he's doing is this is clearly biblical. Yep. He says he knows it's authentic. It is not only a prayer. Yeah, it is an amulet, but it's a Bible verse.
He says
it's from the Hebrew. It's from the Hebrew Bible. I'm not going to even dispute the whole Canaanite thing.
He says
it's from the Bible. Yeah, but it could be Canaanite. Guess what? I know that the Hebrew Israelites, or whatever you want to call them, they were Canaanite. I'm not fighting with him on that. But he said the Bible was created when the Septuagint was created. So I'm going to ask him again. Did they bury this after they got this and used it? I don't know. It was discovered in 1979. Help me. We need your help with that one.
I need some help myself.
So that is a popular prayer that would have been known to the Semitic peoples, even outside of it being on that amulet, just like Baal language. So the same way that Baal language and the Dear Allah inscription made its way into the Bible is the same way this Canaanite inscription made it into the Bible. It's no different from the Dear Allah inscription. It's no different from the Ugaritic Baal cycle that ends up in Psalms as well. This just ends up in Numbers. So popular pan-Semitic themes, prayers, cultic practices ended up in the Bible because the Bible is from these peoples. The very Yahwehs that the Bible would have been created for, they knew about these things. That's why the Greeks had to put Semitic things in the Bible to sell it to these Canaanite peoples. That's just like Lyar Cohen, the music executive, using hip hop to turn Black people against our own indigenous cultures. So it was no different from the Baal cycle.
Okay, then let me come in here. No, because he's got to get this pushback. See, you just told us what you feel. There's no source on that. Yep. You did. There's not. It sounded good. It's
said
great.
Gad,
Like I said,
I said Gad
no,
Barnea.
it sounds good. Wait, hold on. Yeah, I let you go. It sounds good, and that's great. And a lot of people agree with you that don't believe in the Bible, but you're coming to us like you're right with all sources. You have no source on that. That was speculative. You don't have anything showing us that this information is somewhere else and was used in the Septuagint. This was discovered in 1979. It was buried somewhere. It was not used. So how could they have used this information, taken this and copied it and put a book together? You don't have anything showing that. Now, it sounded logical and feasible, but you have no source showing us that, because with the ball cycle that you're talking about, and even when we hear when we see people like Asar and Jabari show us the facts that the meta netter is in Proverbs, that could be something you would have been able to do. You cannot do that because you are asserting that the Bible was created when the Septuagint was created, and no one's going to even do that. But it's okay. I'm listening to you. So Naphtali said the Canaanites are white. I say that Jesus is the serpent in the garden, and you say the Bible was created when the Septuagint was created. We will rock with you on what you teach, but when you're talking about sources, you're not going to be able to get a source showing that. Another thing I want to ask you this.
Dr. Gad Barnea.
I'm going to give the mic back to you, and then I'm going to let it close out. Let me ask you this. I made a point that you're speculating. Also, what about the book of Job? And what about the fact that that was also predates? It's one of the oldest book, if not the oldest book in the Bible. That predates the Septuagint as well. So you just say everything that it don't matter. It was just all made right there at that time when the Septuagint was created, right? No matter if we have proof that there's archaeological proof that the original scrolls and the original writings are dated at a certain time. You understand that, like, they can do research and testing on this scroll and on other things and say, okay, this stuff was written before the creation of the Septuagint. I'm talking about the book of Job now. What's your take on that?
So according to the biblical scholars, Hosea and Job are the two of the oldest books in the Bible.
I believe it's Ezekiel, but maybe if you want to say Hosea.
I threw them both out there because they say the two of them. I don't know which one of the two would be the oldest. I just know those two are. But anyway, before we sorry. So I would compare to Islam, the earliest manuscripts of Islam, like the Sanaa manuscript, the Ma'il manuscript, the Birmingham manuscript, the Topkapi manuscript, Tashkent manuscript, right? They can carbon date those. They're written on parchment. So they carbon date those and they can figure out what date that those were written in and things like that. Exactly what you are implying. The only problem with the statement that you made is there are none of those scrolls. That's only implied through, biblical archaeologists who are just putting this forth, who have no manuscripts themselves. No scrolls exist. That's why this is actually capitalized upon by those peoples, because it is a prayer that you later find in the Bible that you find outside of the Bible. But that's the same with the Baal cycle as well. That's the same with the Dear Allah inscription as well. And you yourself said that is an amulet, meaning on that amulet, it cannot fit the entire Bible on it. So you cannot also just say that amulet is the Bible. That amulet only contains a prayer that later shows up in the Bible. And that's all
I didn't say it's not the whole Bible. It's not the whole Bible, but it's definitely.
Wait, can I just land my plane real quick? Can I just land my plane real quick?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, don't go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. So I'm glad you agree with me that is not the entire Bible. And yes, it is just an amulet that contains a prayer. And it is to ward off the evil eye and its divination. So it puts it in a more magical cultic practice as well. So the source on that, like I said again, one among many, was Gad Barnea. I did bring a source, and I even named Islamic
What is the source?
manuscripts. Hold on, wait, hold
on. I need you to clarify. You're not going to just railroad. What do you mean you brought a source for what? You brought a source that the Septuagint was the first time the Bible was created? That's what you brought the source on?
So to land my plane, I named manuscripts of the Quran that can be carbon dated. The reason why we cannot name manuscripts of Hosea that they carbon dated to this time in the third is because that does not exist, sister. That's why there is no name of a text that they did carbon date, because that material does not exist. And that's why this Kenam Hitif prayer is being, blown up and romanticized.
However, it don't exist.
I'm gonna get this real quick. No, I gotta show. He keeps saying prayer. It's being misleading. But yeah, you could call it a prayer, but it's actual a Bible verse in the Bible. So he keeps. That's what I was curious. I was curious how you're gonna swing this. So you get a C- on it. I've seen other people kind of like at least some people get in here and say it's completely fake. So that would have probably stuck to the wall better than you coming in here and admitting that it's authentic and then saying it's just a prayer. As you see on the screen, it's Numbers chapter 6, which of course that wasn't what it was then. It was, like you said, it was a prayer. I'm doing air quotes and an amulet, but it's actually the point is that it's verses in the Bible. Numbers chapter 6, verse 24 through 26. And that is the Ketef Hinnom scrolls, the silver scrolls. They date back to 600 BCE. See how this is a nuclear bomb that just kills the whole argument when somebody comes in. And I'm not good. I can't stress it enough that I hope you come back. I want you to be here. But there's your Achilles tendon. Your presentation was great. I thought it was flawless, but there's always something you'll find with a lot of us, because we're free thinkers. We think outside the box. When you come in and say the Bible was created when the Septuagint, and the Septuagint was the first creation of the Bible, then that's where you get your knees knocked out, because you call it carbon dating. I don't even know exactly if it's only carbon dating. This particular piece of archaeological evidence dates back to 600 BCE, which is a millennia plus before the Septuagint. And these are verses in the Bible. First you tried to say, it was well known. Well, if it was so well known, go pull something else and show where it is that you can see in Canaanite writing. Show me some of that information. I know people want the mic, but I just want to show you the facts. Remember, we source up or shut up this isn't to you, God energy. But in our community, sources rule. Sources rule. And this is 600 BCE. The Septuagint is much, 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 much younger. So yeah, no. All right. I'll let you come in and respond, and then I'm going to move on to everybody to close out.
No problem, sister. That is a Canaanite writing that later ends up in the Bible. That is a Canaanite writing. That is a Canaanite writing, sister.
Show us where'd you get it? Show us where it comes from.
Hold on, y'all. I've been holding my hand up for.
I'm gonna let Apostle go. Thank you so much, God Energy. You got the last word. It's a Canaanite writing that happens to be 600. It was created in the 6th century BCE, or what is it? 600 BCE. Sorry.
Okay.
So I didn't say. By the way, I'm with you on the Canaanite thing. You and I'm with you that the Israelites are basically Canaanites. So let me go say your final word, Apostle. I'm going to go around the panel. Thank you, everybody. Don't go, God Energy. I want you to say your final. Apostle, please go ahead and close out. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in.
Israelites came into Canaan after Exodus. They wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, according to the biblical narrative. By the time they got to the Jordan River, all over the age of 20 had died in the wilderness except Joshua and Caleb. So the people that went into Canaan were born basically doing the wilderness travel. That's why Joshua had to circumcise the people before they went in. Canaan was already there and established, all 7 nations. Joshua, the first nation, was the city of Jericho that he conquered. They talked about the men of giants and the grapes are big as whatever. We know the story. So far as I'm concerned, if Canaan is there when we get there, we can't be Canaanites. Did we act like Canaanites once we got there? Yes. Did we follow some Canaanites? Yes. We even married some. We know Judah did. We know that. We know that. So, okay. My last thing is, when was the Septuagint written? Because I know Alexander the Great was dead. It was one of his generals that told me that had it done. Alexander the Great died in 325 AD. So it had to be in the 300s that the Septuagint was translated by 70 Jewish scholars. We know this. Matter of fact, in the 600s, 1,000, Ezra is the one that is rewriting the scriptures. He's the one that's preserving the text that was written over a 1,500-year period by 42 different scholars. You got the 84 books. Now they done took them out, so we got 66 books. But in Ezra's day, he put together the Old Testament. So he had to have the original copies of copies in order to put them together so they can go in the book when the Septuagint was written. Now that's the gospel. That's the truth.
Okay, thank you so much, Apostle. Thank you so much for that, Elder. Thank you for staying up late. I'm going to move on to Asarim. I see you, King J and Easy Bands, but Asarim, I don't know if he maybe fell asleep. Are you there, Asar? We put you to sleep. Yeah, I think it was a minute. And I don't know if Steve might have gone to sleep. Easy Bands, come on in. Do your closeout, and I saw you getting.
I ain't going to.
I know you. Okay, thank you, Steve. You're really great to be patient.
Thank you.
I think it was Elder Sanchez.
If you want, Steve, we can let you close out. You've been waiting a while, and I know it's late where you are.
I just want to say thank you for having me. I was up here listening and learning a lot. I'm up here in the big leagues with the heavy hitters. I must say, however, this is not my areas of expertise. I'm really a biological scientist. I study bio and chemistry. My background in history is African and African American studies. You guys go deep, real deep, and it was a pleasure being here. And I wouldn't mind coming back.
Yeah. And you know what? I appreciate you being here. We have to bring you back to do your book again. Sonetter loved that presentation.
Did he really?
The House of Consciousness. Oh yeah, he's like, I got to bring him over to the House of Consciousness to do that. So look forward to me getting in touch with you. I appreciate you coming in. And
down at the bottom.
I don't want him sitting here. So you can see your way out. You don't have to stay, but you're more than welcome to stay. Go ahead, Easy Bands. Your final words.
Okay, so my final word would be to basically just maybe add my 2 cents to what you're saying. That was a very important topic. I was actually waiting to present that as well, but you beat me to the punch. That just shows, great minds think alike. But anyways,
yes, sir.
His response to it is that that it's a Canaanite thing, right? But firstly, it's written in Paleo Hebrew. And after that as well, he would have to show us where, and
God,
it's all good. But he would have to show us where this thing originates. You can't just say it's a Canaanite prayer that existed, blah, 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 when it's Paleo-Hebrew and the name Yahweh is mentioned in there. Okay, so he can laugh all he wants, right? But the name Yahweh is mentioned in that. So we know it's talking about the biblical God, right? So if you want to say that it's Canaanite meaning non-biblical, you have to show us where it comes from. You can't just make that claim, you know. So basically, with all the evidence, and then there's other, you know, ancient, archaeological finds where they found like name places or, you know, pottery, you know, involving like biblical names and stuff like that, places, and all this other information that goes with the biblical story as well. So there's a lot he has to overcome if he wants to make that point to say that, you know, the Bible was written or, you know, conceptualized during the Alexandrian period. So that doesn't make sense.
It was wild.
Yeah,
no, but I love the brother's energy. But Easy Bands, are you done? Go ahead. Say your final, park your car so I can move on to the other people. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that he brought up that I wanted to touch on, but it just, you know, slips my mind.
He's coming back. He's coming back. You can touch on a lot with him. I hope he comes back.
But once again, brother, hey man, I'm impressed by all that information you have. The presentation was dope. Keep doing your thing, but we got to bring you closer to the truth, bro.
Easy Bands. I don't drop bonds for Easy Bands with that one either. You see, I'm not biased. God energy when it comes. That's his opinion. You're already in your truth.
I didn't feel no type of way about whatever that exchange was. So just so you know, it's all good. This was actually one of the more respectful environments I've been in.
Awesome. See, y'all heard that?
It was good,
y'all heard that, right? Go ahead. Okay, God energy. I'm gonna let you respond to him, but I want to get to some other people. I see your brother in the bomb squad joined. We got Mighty Hebrew coming in. We were gonna do the closeout, but I know Mighty Hebrew came in to give you some pushback, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Mighty Hebrew, Prince Charlandine, come on in, and God energy. Go sharpen get your other sword, get your katana out, because he's coming with some information, I believe. So go ahead, Mighty Hebrew. Let's get this. Go ahead.
Oh wait, I thought I was responding to homeboy.
The reason I'm saying that, God energy, is because I know Prince Charlandine is going to come in and, you know, expound on that. So I just want you to get one fell swoop with Easy Bands and Prince, if you can do that for me. Is that all right?
Yeah, no, Paleo Hebrew is a misnomer, right? Paleo Hebrew is definitely a misnomer for what? Phoenician, right? So this is a form of Canaanite. It's in a Canaanite text. Paleo Hebrew, I repeat, is a misnomer for Phoenician. And per all of the evidence that I've shown, the Phoenicians themselves self-referenced as Canaanite. So that's my answer to that part. He had said something else, but I forgot in the intro.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So Pitbull, you're in here. Thank you for finally showing yourself. I wasn't going to be able to let you in. Okay. No. Hold on, Pitbull. Thank you. Yes. Shalom. All right. Mighty Hebrew, what would you like to address the young scholar, the brother about? Go ahead. Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom to the panel. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Peace and blessings.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't. Hallelujah. I'm sorry I can't show my face because I'm in the bed. You know, it's early over here in Tanzania.
Cool. No, I know who you are. Go ahead.
Okay. First and foremost, I give all praise and honor to Yahweh, the supreme, intelligent, powerful one of our forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, those striving for righteousness' sake. I say unto the family, Shalom Aleichem. It was a powerful presentation. I came roughly around like an hour and a half ago. Then I rewind it back a little bit. But the presentation that he's bringing forth it's a, an old argument that the Israelites are Canaanites. But I want to expound on some things. I think it would be good for brothers like that's dealing with these sources to come on the ground in Israel, which I've been many, many times. And y'all know I live here in Tanzania and in Dimona, Israel. One of the problems with the Canaanite argument is that they don't understand that there's actually two understandings of what the Canaanites are and how they're related to the Israelites. The argument is the Israelites are Canaanites. I will say yes and no. Now, what do I mean by that? Yes, in the archaeological sense, they're Canaanites because the Israelites lived in the land of Canaan. And in that, we took on certain Canaanite customs, but we're not descendants of Canaan or the children of Ham. When you speak in the archaeological sense, they define the Israelites as Canaanites because of the region that we lived in. Just like if we live in America, or you have different ethnic groups that live in America, they call them Americans, but their background ethnically, they're not American. They could be Chinese, Japanese, whatever the case may be, but they're just labeled American. So we got to make that clear. Also, another thing that has to be made clear is this concept of saying Phoenician is older than Hebrew or Phoenician is Canaanite. The term Phoenician itself is a Greek word. So we got to make that clear. It's a Greek word defining the land of the palm trees from Lebanon all the way to what we know as Israel today. So we have to put things in proper perspective. Sometimes the Phoenicians can be labeled as Israelites, Canaanites, etc. And I've noticed when we talk about Canaan, there isn't too much archaeological evidence of the Canaanites by the way of the children of Ham. Most of the information that is being talked about Canaan is subscribed to the biblical narrative and what they found on the ground. One of the things that I'm pushing, and I didn't tell Sister Nabagas until now, there was a 9th century ACE historian by the name of Adad the Danite, and he identified the locations of Israelite communities that he tackled into during the 9th century ACE in East Africa. So what I did, because I'm on the ground and I wanted to do this as a surprise, but I wouldn't mind coming on side at the Colosseum to show the ground foot anthropological research that I've discovered, traveling by the way of Adad, the Danites travels, the Israelite communities that he talked about in East Africa, they still exist over here in East Africa right now. Now, that's not a dagger, that's actually a death blow. Because what I did was I did the route, the same route that Adad the Danite did in East Africa, in areas like Tanzania, Malawi, Uganda, these different areas where he claimed that there were Israelite communities there. These Israelite communities still exist today. So now people will have to, contest that argument, you know what I'm saying? Because you have these Israelite communities over here in Africa that exist to this day that Adad the Danite said existed during the 9th century AD. We can still see various communities today. But again, the presentation was great. I just wanted to make it clear that that term Canaanite has to be understood from an archaeological understanding versus a biblical understanding. And also there are writings on one more thing. There are writings that exist before Alexander the Great. Shout out to Nepal. How you broke down the Silver Scroll is absolutely correct. That's how the Silver Scroll is supposed to be broken. I mean, I've seen the Silver Scroll personally over in Israel. I've seen it, in the museum. But what I'm saying, there are also writings called the Sinaitic inscriptions that go back to 1800 BCE. We can see in the world's oldest language by I think Pukovich, I think that's how you pronounce his name, that there are writings older and then the Alexandrian era. And another thing we got to watch ourselves. We say that this Euro-Gentile do a lot of lying, but we go back to him as a point of reference. Why don't y'all just start coming on the ground and see what the people over in these regions say, versus just going by what white scholars say alone? You got to remember they're placing themselves in history, so they have to find themselves. Why don't y'all just go, if y'all saying that the Hebrews don't exist in Africa, but then you go to Africa and you see these Hebrew communities in Africa, why y'all just don't go to them communities yourselves and do interviews like I've done and put them on YouTube? Why y'all don't do that? Why y'all keep saying this don't exist?
Right? Because you want him to address the. I mean, I'm saying that question's rhetorical, but That's a good question. I just want them to address everything that you presented because the brother has to respond, and then we still got to get around. So I definitely will let you, whenever you want to do that presentation, get in touch with me and we will go ahead and set it up. So I'm going to let you.
I want to do it as soon as possible, Sister Napa. I'll call you over the weekend.
Yes, sir. And Sonetter, I'll let him know. Peace to you. Thank you for coming in. Let me let the brother respond. Peace, shalom, and Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Barakatah, Barak Ha. How do you say how do you say family? I forgot. Mashapat. No, that's not it. How do you say family? I forgot. Damn, that's
family in Hebrew, and family in Hebrew is mishpachah.
Mishpachah. Thank you. All right, bless your family. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, brother. Go ahead, God Energy. Thank you so much for waiting. It was a lot put on to you. I'll let you have your time to respond to all that. And I see everybody else. Go ahead.
He was saying go to Israel and stuff. I'm not going to Israel.
No, don't worry about that part. That's why I said leave that part out. And then the other stuff he said about Canaanites and, discuss that if you would.
I don't think I really was getting an argument from that. I don't think there was an argument there.
Okay, so you agree that it's not it's a land. Oh, he's still here. He's still here. Okay. Let me move around.
I wanted to ask God Logic something real fast. God Logic, why you say you wouldn't go to Israel? Why wouldn't you go? If you,
God Energy.
God Energy, not God Logic. God Energy. I mean, wouldn't it be, it's just a question, not just to you, but to the whole listener audience. Me being an Israelite, it would only be logical for me because I live in Israel too. I live in Dimona. My question would be, if we're going to talk about various topics like this, wouldn't it be safe for us to go to these different areas and do our own footwork research? Because we might see some things that might gravitate to us that may not gravitate to the Goyim or the Euro Gentile. Why wouldn't you go to Israel?
It's kind of late. I don't know if he's ready.
You mean for research purposes? Well, if I were to conduct some sort of archaeological survey, Canaanite artifacts would definitely be on the list. Would it be the first destination? I don't think so, but Canaan artifacts would definitely be on the list.
Okay. Thank you for responding. All right. And again, we absolutely appreciate and I respect him taking his time to come in with this presentation. Like we said, this is I think you come from Bigo, so you're used to people pushing back on your information. So I don't want you to ever think that we don't appreciate you being here. We love it. And this is how we get it in the toughest environment. Ashe, I see you came in. You're waiting to talk. I know everybody else wants to close out. King J, you're coming up right after him. I see you, Suntan. Go ahead, Ashe. What would you like to add to this particular closeout?
I think when he was giving his presentation, I don't think he was ever hinting to the biblical son Canaan. I think he was referring strictly to the landmass, and he gave euphemisms through different, according to different peoples, for the landmass of ways that they utilize, things that they called the landmass. He used Amoru, he used Kenanu. He went into different names for the landmass, so he didn't have to be stuck on the biblical son Canaan. So once that's added, so that was an addition. And that was unnecessary. I don't think that nobody was fishing for that to try to tie the Canaanites into these people in the Bible. I don't think he was doing that. That's A. And then B, when it comes to the Septuagint thing, understand that the Septuagint is your oldest diasporic Bible, Old Testament, if you will. Why is that? Because it's going to feature your Maccabees. It's going to feature your Tobit. It's going to feature things that are not in your older original Hebrew Bible, if you will. So that's what it does do. It serves, it preserves those diasporic, quote unquote, Jewish texts. It preserves them. That's what it does. And lastly, my last thing I'm going to say is when it comes to actually going to these places and doing the groundwork, if you're doing your own archaeology and all stuff like that, man, salute to you. That's great. But far as going to these people in getting what they got to tell you and then taking that as that if that's true, you subjugating yourself to get bamboozled. Because a lot of these tribes, a lot of these people, they've been finessed. They've been sold stories. Believe it or not, like, come on, missionaries have been going to these tribal lands, selling these people these stories, telling them who they are. So it doesn't do me any justice to do an interview with an unlearned African who thinks he's from Israel. When pretty sure if he does a blood test and do his genetics, he's nowhere from that space and place. So what we'll do as best is to like, maybe do some groundwork, get on the ground, but also do your study and find out when did these people adopt these ideologies. When did they start saying they was Israelites? Look that up, and then look up these people original cultures before Semitic influence. Semitic influence plays a large part on these people turn around and trying to tell you that they from the tribe of Gad and they descendants of all of these people who are in this book. I land there.
Thank you. It's us. Thank you, Ashe. I forgot, before I go to you, King J, I forgot this gentleman, Pitbull of 144. He hasn't spoken at all. Come in and say your final words. I think our friend Steve finally said, I got to go to bed. Peace to you, Steve. Thank you for your presentation. Go ahead, Pitbull. What would you like to add?
I just want to add that we're leaving out the fact that the Dead Sea Scrolls and all these different writings that predate the texts that are in question by God Energy, we have to take this in consideration. Not only that, we can clearly see in historical evidences that the Israelite or Hebrew, early Northwestern Semitic languages outside of Canaan, they come from primarily Egypt records. We can see this in the Transjordan inscripts, in the diaspora administrative text. We can see that their language formed outside of Canaan. So when we give these ideas that we've taken all of these different constructs from Canaan, when the information and the historicity of the linguistical system would be outside of Canaan found in the evidence. Not only that, when we look at the Canaanite Egyptian records, like for an example, the Shasu of Yahuwah, 13th to the 14th century BCE, these are Egyptian hieroglyphs texts that mention Yahuwah. So when you say things like that, you would have to say that these texts are not true and have not been found valid, but the archaeology and the scholarship that support these things say that they are. So that's another problem to his claim. And here's where it has everything to do with the Bible, because what he said about the Bible, the Helios Biblios, the Sun Book, would be true to a degree. But when we get into like what these writings that I'm talking about in the Torah and the Tanakh, you got to also remember that these things were founded at different times and written in different times that preserve the original historical boundaries of what the message was of this information and the culture of the people, speaking a tongue that is Semitic, but it does not hold the same place and value in linguistical standards. So for you to say and claim these things, you would have to show the clear distinctions without a difference. And he has failed to do that in his dissertation. And I think that it was good what he did. I would agree it was a great presentation. But when we get into the historicity, we're dealing with scholars that it's more modern scholarship. He didn't bring out anything about the Dead Sea Scrolls, which predates the writings that he questioned. Why didn't he do that? Because that would blow that would blow him out of the water. He would have no leg to stand on if you bring up this information that predates this. This is where they take the information of the so-called newer writings, right? Like the Greek Septuagint. This is where they're transliterating this information from. Textus Receptus. All of these different writings. I land there.
All right. Thank you so much, Pitbull of 144. King J, we're doing a closeout, remember. So, King J, come on in and say your final, respond, whatever you'd like to do. Thank you so much for being here. Go ahead, brother.
I appreciate that. Kind of give me a chance to round up. I really want to have I really want to build back and forth with the Mighty Hebrew, because honestly, anytime I'm on a panel with the Mighty Hebrew, it's an honor to be able to build with him, because The brother holds so much, a wealth of knowledge. I consider him and, like Zion Lex, equal, when it comes to Hebrew, as far as like somebody that I want to learn from, you know what I'm saying, and can learn
Definitely.
from.
I agree.
So basically, when he on the panel, I just ask him, I like to ask him questions because I have been studying some certain things, but, and it's in regards to Yod Hey Vahe and Haya Hove and Yohe. He was, is, and will be. Kind of that, you know what I'm saying? That's what I want to talk to you about. But in regards to what we're talking about on the panel, yes, the brother kind of was taking my talking points. The brother was just speaking before me in regards to Yahweh really doesn't have an existence anywhere outside of historically and outside of those first Taleb inscriptions, Metanetter inscriptions, placing them in the Transjordan region. We don't see Yahweh. So what we do see is Amukos, right? So the title of the show is about the Hyksos. So I would make the arguments that we have a better argument for the Israelites to be Amu. Those are the
Yeah,
nomadic tribes that live within
true.
the Levant.
That's
One mic.
true. That's true.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
So, are you done, King Jay? Because I don't want to,
Yeah, I said a lot. I said a lot.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mighty Hebrew, you want to go ahead? I hear you saying true. Did you want to respond to that? And then I think, did we get everybody? I
And
think our friend, our brother Sars. Oh, Suntan. So, brother Elder Suntan, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get to you, sir.
Yes,
Go
ma'am.
ahead, Mighty Hebrew.
It
You
was
wanted to
it
say
was it
something?
was yes, it was a few things that was said. So I'm gonna try to I'm gonna do this is gonna be my closing out. One of the things that I heard was we just can't basically go by the oral traditions of these Africans that been bamboozled with missionary work. So here's a prime example that I give you. I went to Nigeria in 2007 and I met a group of people in southern Nigeria known as the Imo Yomkodun people. In the Yoruba vernacular, it means the strange people, but they call themselves Bene Ephraim. And this is a tribe, it's probably roughly around 2,500 of them left. Now, this is what they say out of their own mouth. They say during the time of the Assyrian Babylonian captivity, they managed to migrate from Oase to Oase. And they landed first in Timbuktu, and then as time went on, they went into a land and they called the area the Onmi, which means good water. They don't know how that name took on the Homie and moved further to the coast. And later on, as surrounding tribes started to come in, it became renamed as Nigeria. Now, they have an oral tradition, not only an oral tradition, but they have imparched in Aramaic the Hebrew Torah. They don't have no post-exilic understanding of what we see in the Apocrypha, where you see the Hanukkah, the Purim, things like that. They don't have none of that. And they themselves say they from the tribe of Ephraim. And they existed thousands of years before any missionaries came. I'm just using one example out of many that there are tribes in Africa that go back to correctly Shemitic origin, not Semitic, but Shemitic origin. We can't just throw, the baby out the bathwater, however they call it or say. We have to look at tribes that exist in Africa that have older traditions. Not only that, we got people such as Dr. John Henry Clark that said out of his own mouth that there were African Hebrews or Shemitic Hebrews that migrated in Africa. Dr. Ben said it. We got Sheikh Anta Diop saying it in pre-colonial Black Africa. We have Infodizi, who recently just was on record in Egypt or Kemet, talking about original Hebrews from Africa migrating into Nigeria and Ghana. The ones that understand these things are those that travel on the ground. Another thing about this Hyksos thing, we got to get out of this concept, this old argument that the Hebrews are the Hyksos. or more correctly, the Israelites are Hyksos. That is an old academia argument that many have debunked. And furthermore, the Hyksos were known as Nubians, Amalekites. There were different people at different various times known by that term, even though that's a Greek term. That's not what the people of Kemet called themselves. And then if you read in the book Josephus, and then if you look in the books of against Amphion, and I don't know if y'all keep overlooking this on purpose, but there's a difference from a Hykso versus a Hykso. When you read in against Amphion, Josephus breaks this down. The Hykso, rulers of foreign lands, or mistranslated as shepherd kings, and then you got the Hyksos, which is known as shepherd captives. So who are y'all talking about? Are y'all talking about the Hyksos, or y'all talking about the Hyksos? Because these are two different people. You okay? And y'all look over this because y'all try to make it seem as though that Josephus is calling the Israelites Hyksos. No, he's not. He is not saying that. He is calling them Hyksos, shepherd captives. And he make this clear when he tells you that there's a difference. So I just want to clarify that because the argument keeps coming up that Josephus said that the Hebrews were Hyksos. No, he did not. He said they were Hyksos, and then he breaks down and against Amphion, and he distinguishes and shows the difference. So again, ground footwork is the best footwork. We cannot continuously regurgitate what Europeans are saying without doing our own investigative research, and then call our people in Africa liars and saying, oh, there's no Hebrews in Africa. Well, the people in Africa are saying, y'all lying, because there are communities throughout Africa that have been existing for centuries before Europeans even came with their missionary influences. I need for y'all to challenge these communities that are saying, because I did a presentation, the pod know about it, it's on FOP Israelites, where I interview extensively these communities throughout Africa, and they're saying y'all lying, that there are communities that existed before the missionary era that understood and know that they're Hebrews. So what do y'all say about these communities that been existing before these European missionaries came? What do y'all say about that? Oh, and to King James, what did you say about Yahweh? There was something you were saying about Yahweh, and I closed that out.
Yes, I was asking about Haya, Hove, and Yohe, in regards to the tetragram, and in those regards, and you know, alluding to the Nakuts and that sort of stuff.
What he was basically saying is he wants to get together with you and do some studies on that, on the language and that. But go, if you could respond to him, and then I appreciate you being here, Mighty Hebrew. But I'm gonna move on after you.
Okay, let's do this. Let's King James. King James, I'm gonna put in the back of the comment right now my direct phone number and WhatsApp me, and I'll talk to you directly.
Okay.
Awesome. And then don't forget, you're going to get in touch with us so you can do your show. And King J, you're always welcome to come in and sit down and talk to Prince Charlene Dean when he's on the panel. I see your hand up. Thank you, Mighty Hebrew. Thank you so much for coming in. Yes, I see your hand up, Ashe. I do want to get to Elder Suntan. And then, yes, I know Easy Bands. I'm going to let you, after everybody's gone around, I'm going to let you put your information up. So thank you for your patience. Thank everybody for your patience. God Energy, thank you for your patience. Ashe, what did you want to quickly respond to that? Yes, sir. You want to respond to the Elder Mighty Hebrew?
Absolutely. So, you know, this ain't to have no debate with you, Mighty Hebrew. But it goes even deeper than just missionary influence. You have that Semitic influence, even far as like the Sabaeans who get they get that early Semitic influence. So they get this story, and once they get this story, and this happens in BCE time, way, like you said, way before there's a European bringing any, I understand that, facts, but they still have this outside Semitic influence. And I will not disagree that some of those Semites did migrate into Africa, of course, but there are then African tribes who have been on the continent of Africa since their inception but yet have adopted these stories and then switched their original Genesis story to fit a biblical narrative. And I can prove this. That's
Can I ask you? But I want to make this clear so you'll understand. I'm saying that the original Shemites are Africans.
Okay.
The
You have
original
some. You have some.
African. The original Semites are Africans. The Semitic language diverged in Africa, then migrated out of Africa. My presentation talked about that.
On a historical level, on a historical level, absolutely. But far as what your story is telling us,
God energy. After Ashe talks, I'm going to let you be heard better. Go ahead, Ashe.
On a historical level, common sense level, geographic level, absolutely. But once you get to talking about Abraham and he sets off and he's in Mesopotamia and all of this stuff, now we have a whole different narrative in play.
Why would that be when I just want to say this? Why would that be when Mesopotamia is northeastern Africa?
You put Mesopotamia in Africa?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna just disagree with you there. We can agree to disagree.
Watch this. I'm gonna show you something real quick before I go. When you go into Bereshit, Genesis chapter 2, verses 13 on down, it talks about the four riverheads. We got the Gihon and the Pison. All the historical evidence show that's the blue and white Nile. So the blue and white Nile we talking about starting from Uganda and Lake Victoria, which is 4,200 miles long, dropping into the Mediterranean to the great river Euphrates. You also go to Genesis chapter 15, 18, talking about the great river Egypt to the Euphrates. We talking about from East Africa to the so-called Middle East. And we know if you go into the land of Israel, which everybody knows this is what I do every 9 months. When you go to the land of Israel, you can go right to the African Edenic heritage tour that's ran by Sar Eliakim ben Yahuda, one of the doctors in Dimona, Israel, northeastern Africa. Our people, and they take you on the tour and they take you right to the African tectonic plate. Israel sits on the African tectonic plate. And if you're talking about flora and fauna, which you know as the Negev Desert in Dimona, Israel, it's nothing but an extension of the Sahara Desert. When you look at the animal life, the wildlife, if you look at the plant life, it's the same plant life as the Sahara Desert. All that is northeastern Africa. The term Middle East is fairly new. So when you say the term Middle East, it gets you out of the mind state that you're not talking about Africa, but you really are. You're just talking about the northeastern extension of Africa. And I ask you this question.
But once you step out into
where's the middle north at? I'm asking you a question. Where's the middle north? No, I'm asking you a question.
I never. Respectfully, Mighty Hebrew, I never used Middle East in this conversation. So I know what you're trying to do and where you're going with that. That's why I didn't use the term Middle East. But what I do know is once you get to stepping into Mesopotamia,
so
now we're not having the argument of what's on the African plate and what's not on the African plate. Say it again.
But them people that you see today are not the original inhabitants. Like for instance, when you talk about Abraham coming from out of Chaldea, I'm gonna throw you this one thing to you. What if I tell you? No, I ain't even gonna do that yet. I'm gonna keep that under the tub. But what I'm saying is, I understand the story of Abraham coming from out of Mesopotamia, and I hear too much noise. Can y'all mute your mics? And y'all say or. But I'm just going to give you this so you can look up. Look up a tribe known as the Yadavas. Go look up the Yadavas, and you're going to see that the or that you might be referring to, it might be from the Indus Valley subcontinent. But I'm just going to leave that there for now. But what I'm telling you is Mesopotamia is a part of northeastern Africa. The people that live there today are not the original inhabitants. And if you go to Iraq and you go look at the evidence, all you see in this images of black faces. You know what I'm saying? Before, when you start talking about the 4th century BCE, and even you go into Abraham 21, 66 BCE, these would be what you would consider Afro-Asiatic people. Just because, and I understand the mind state that the Euro Gentiles put us in. If you're talking about Iraq, you're not talking about Africa. But what I'm saying to the people, so everybody know, Iraq is a part of Africa. It's just a greater northeastern extension of Africa, and people from the continent of Africa been moving in and out of there before any Euro Gentiles existed. That is also a part of our land. And I'm here to tell y'all, we need to take that back. From East Africa to Northeastern Africa, that's our land. Hallelujah.
Thank you so much, Mighty Hebrew. I do need King J. Sorry about that, Easy Bands. Thank you so much for your patience. Yes, it is getting late. So peace to you. He had to drop off. He wanted to present something. King J, let me let Suntan get in and close out, and then I will get to you. And then I want God Energy to just do his close out. I appreciate everybody being here because I know it's super late. So thank you. Go ahead, Suntan. Are you awake?
Yeah, all right. Peace and
Thank
peace
you
and
so
love.
much for waiting so long, Suntan. Go ahead.
No problem. Peace and love, and let's keep living and learning. And I got a question for you, Nepal, because I think I heard right. Did you say Nathalia, your daughter from your loins? Oh, you were just kidding. Okay.
Yes, she's my daughter. That is my child.
Have a
I
good
love
night,
her.
bro.
She is I'm so proud of, she is the child, my progeny.
All right.
No, she's not my real daughter, but I said that because I'm really proud of her. And somebody was trying to make it like, oh, you're scared of her. She and I, as a woman debater, even though I don't agree with what she pushes as far as what she researches, but I really, really have a lot of respect for her holding her own in this environment. But yeah, I don't ever, and if you're listening, Naphtali, you know I love you. We will get it in again. Don't ever think I'm scared of Naphtali when I'm the tree and she's the fruit. Okay? That's what I have to say. I didn't drop a bomb for myself, but I so wanted to, but I got to be fair. All right. So thank you, Suntan. Have a great night.
Yeah,
I'm going to
everybody. Peace.
Peace. King J, please respond and be aware that people falling asleep. And then we're going to let God Energy, he's going to have the last say so. No matter what, I'm not going to let anybody respond after he has the last say so. All right, go ahead, King J.
Yes, I do want to address my closeout to what the brother Asay said in regards to Africa not being Mesopotamia. I would concur with the brother Mighty Hebrew, and I would give the example of Nimrod of Cush, because Nimrod of Cush, if you know what I'm referencing, his kingdom was the kingdom of Mesopotamia. So I'll just end with that, and I'll pass it on to who's next.
Thank you so much for being very concise. I appreciate that. Now, at the end of the show, we bring in God Energy. I want to say, God Energy, this is your first time being on the HOK Colosseum. I am so happy that you came over. You are awesome. Listen, keep bringing the bomb squad over here. Y'all are not soft shells. I got to drop a bomb. Wait, hold on. You don't know how many people get their feelings hurt. Let me get that for you. Let me drop that bomb for you, brother. To be honest, I mean this sincerely. The bomb I will drop for you again because you did great in here. And your presentation was very premium. Go ahead, please. Close
Thank you. Just to comment on the Semitic language having its origins in Africa, I do want to reference, it's called Semitic Languages Outline of a Comparative Grammar, page 43, page 44. Check out the presentation I did on Sarnetta to get more details on the House of Consciousness. Thank you for having us. It was definitely a good conversation. Shout out to Steve, who had his Hyksos identity presentation over here as well. It was a great conversation, y'all.
Thank you so much. And everybody, you heard that. Steve, yes, thank you so much for coming in. And we will see you all soon. Ashe, thank you. Keep on, like I said, Ashe, I don't know if you're the person, the Moses that's leading your bomb squad brothers and sisters over here. But
we a Hydra. We all equivalents.
Are you the Hydra?
We the Hydra. We all equivalent. Ain't nothing.
How many heads are there actually on the Hydra?
If you cut one out, we just still keep on growing. We just go keep on growing.
That's right. See, some people try to give a number. It's infinite because the heads keep coming back. I got to drop a bomb for you on that one. All right, y'all. This is it. I'm going to close out. You can see your way out. Thank you so much to the HOK audience. Shout out to Son Netter, the one and only GOAT, and to everybody here that stayed with us so long. Everybody who came in. Thank you, Mighty Hebrew. Thank you to everyone who came in, and we will see you tomorrow. We have more coming. We do. We have a lot more coming, and we appreciate all of you. Shout out to Afu Nation. You thought I wasn't going to shout you out? I love Afu Nation. I love the music. And with that said, I'm going to show you how much I love Afu Nation. Peace, everybody.
Frankie on the trendsetter. You did it again, man. HOK Field Marshal, you know? None of them can but a dance on the top. Violate the general. Head up in a blood clot funeral home. Anchor the AK, Jabari got the crown. Hecre we say how we sending them home. Regina the alley with a Cuban and a galley. Send you back on Nile Valley with a shot in a your toe intellectually. How click the link if your scholarship stop him. Or if just want make you cry with the truth. No lie, my youth, him a really story. And 21 gun salute for commission. Not a brother, a hustle, a move like all left found the black woman not all like Dulce and the Yana for sister freedom. I don't whole panel know what time for Bible thumping the minute them see me come. Revelation set from the trendsetter. None of them can bother dance on it. None of them can bother dance on it. Them got a podcast but saw better.
Yeah. Coast to coast, we be banging. Bringing all this knowledge, we be slanging. In the HOK, we don't do no entertaining.
Speak the truth, speak the facts.
What the niggas just a layman. Better get on one accord. The future can be yours. Ancestors push you more. We gotta go explore the sciences and math. The future's based on class. You bout to catch my wrath. We turning up this track.
In the dark minds of the light.
The dark heart still fight. We gotta make this right. Talk right now. We learn how to stand up and stand proud. No man down. We fam now. House of the country, my clan now.
Frankie on the trendsetter. None of them can bother dance on it. None of them can bother dance on it. Them got a podcast but saw better.
When I look at you niggas, I see what I'm not. Go take him, a little bit of her, mix it with them, I put them in a pot. You still can't get none like me. It might sound the same, but it's unlikely. One white tee. If I lift it up, then you niggas gonna see where the gun might be. I thought I told ya. Affirmation, revelation, we some soldiers. Sonetter put this team together, now it's over. We got the weight of the world up on my shoulder. When you get conscious information, hearts turn colder. Now look at these trappers who rapping the same, so stuck in their lane, systemically, chemically. I'm thinking something is wrong with their brain. As long as they paid and for in the chain, I got nothing to say. They in love with the gang. I traded my gang for change, and now that I changed, a few things still say the same.
Frankie on the trendsetter. None of them can bother dance on it. None of them can bother dance on it. Them got a podcast but saw better.